Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, June 1st, 2026 meeting of the Westport Select Board. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. I do want to make a note, there was an executive session prior to this meeting. So we did open the meeting and we went into executive session. The council who we were talking with had a fire alarm. So we recessed the executive session. It is possible that we will return to executive session at the end of this meeting. So I wanted to just start with some acknowledgments. I want to thank the people who participated in the Memorial Day events that we had last week, particularly the veterans organizations, the American Legion, the VVA, the VFW, the Honor Guard that were there. I want to thank the cemetery department. Even though we didn't have the ceremonies in the cemetery, there was quite a bit of work that went there. And then the scouts, of course, and all the volunteers who placed the flags on the graves. I want to thank the band. I want to thank, I wrote Brigadier General Hastings. Was that her name? What's her? Hasty. Hasty. Okay, so Brigadier General Hasty. Hasty. And then especially Carol Freitas. Carol Freitas, our Veteran Service Officer, who's the one that makes sure that the events all get organized. And everybody who came. It was really a nice event. I encourage you to watch on the video if you haven't seen it yet. We do want to acknowledge the passing of a couple of prominent Westporters. We have the passing of Ralph Urban on May 12. Mr. Urban was 79. He had lived in Westport since 1972. From 1995 to 2006, he worked for the Town of Westport's Board of Health Department. He also worked for the Town of Acushnet as their senior health agent. And then he owned and operated a land surveying business for over 40 years. So our condolences to the family of Ralph Urban. I also want to acknowledge the passing of Ronald Costa on May 18. He was at the age of 92. He was an Air Force veteran. He served for 22 years. He had a number of really interesting, I really encourage you to go read his obituary because he's quite a phenomenal person. He had quite an experience in the Army. But here in Westport, he began his second career in public service as the Veterans Service Agent and later the Veterans Service Director. He served for 29 years in those roles before retiring in 2011. He also served for many years as Westport's elected Commissioner of Trust Funds. He served on the Board of Commissioners of Trust Funds. And I just want to read this from the obituary. As Veterans Agent and Director, he wore many hats and became the trusted person veterans turned to for guidance. From his office in Town Hall, he helped generations of veterans navigate benefits, housing, medical care, burial services, and state resources, always treating each person with dignity and compassion. He worked closely with state officials on behalf of veterans and their families, ensuring they received the support and benefits they had earned through service. His dedication to veterans was not simply a job, it was his, I think this is repeated, calling. So our condolences to the family of Ronald Costa. I should have asked, did either of you know these gentlemen or want to say anything specific? No. All right. So the first item that we have on the agenda is public hearing. So the first public hearing we have is a request to set the water rate at $8.70. I don't know what CCF stands for. Something cubic feet?
Yes.
As of July 1, 2026. So do you want to tell us what this is about, Chris?
Certainly. So in your packet, you have a memo from myself as well as a recommendation from the IOC with regards to proposed water rates for fiscal year 2027. So as outlined within my packet, what is before you this evening for consideration is a 5% increase, taking it from what the current rate is of $8.30 per CCF to $8.70 per CCF. So the proposal before you is it is not in alignment with the IOC's recommendation. However, I felt for the board's consideration, it was worthwhile to have the discussion whether or not a rate increase this year was warranted. So, essentially, over the last several years, the account has been operating in a structural deficit. The town has been using retained earnings to balance the budget. I will say, based on the last time I looked and the current trending, it looks like this will be the first year in several years that we are going to end the year with a balanced budget, slightly. The recommendation of the IOC is to hold rates for this fiscal year while we start having discussions with regards to the water rate study, which was recently approved at town meeting, and continue to have conversations about the overall program itself. Again, what's proposed before you is a 5% increase, because we do know that there are some items that will warrant additional funds over time with regards to administrative capacity. So this would start that process. This would also help to avoid large increases and more or less propose incremental increases over time. So I think, just to summarize, it's really a conversation of, do we want to kind of take the short-term approach, because I am aware that there was a rather large increase this past year, or is this something that the board would like to, consider for this fiscal year? And
Right.
I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. So we have before us Bob Daler and Maury May of the Infrastructure Oversight Committee, and then Jake, you're the Select Board representative to the committee,
Yes.
right? So we want to,
So I'll take this. You want to introduce this? You want to
No,
introduce?
as the administrator said, our recommendation was to hold the rates flat this year, particularly since we had raised them last year. And Maury chaired, I was away, and Maury chaired the committee meeting, and so he'll go through the points that we discussed and why we based our recommendation as we did.
So good evening, everybody. The IOC held a meeting on April 29th of this year to discuss a number of things. And one of the things that we discussed was the waterline rates, and to make a proposal for fiscal year 2027, starting July 1st. And the IOC voted unanimously to recommend holding our waterline rates unchanged at $8.30 for the next fiscal year. The reasons were fivefold. First of all, the Fall River held its rate steady at $4.24 for its fiscal year going forward. We usually jack our rates up off of their rate, and they did not increase their rate. Second is Fall River and Westport signed a new water supply agreement that was worked on extensively by our previous town administrator, which is an improvement for us. The third thing is the IOC projection, actually my projection, is that we will have, at current rates, $8.30 a CCF. We will have a small surplus as we go forward. And I think Chris just mentioned a surplus that we had in the backward-looking fiscal year. And that surplus really was because of the 14% rate increase that we installed last year when we went from $7.28 up to $8.30. I worked with the previous administrator on that one. And so we really want to avoid rate shock. We had a 14% increase last year. Let's not have a rate increase this year. And the last reason is the town meeting, as Chris mentioned, we've approved $15,000 for a consultant study on water rates. Now, Chris and I have talked, and I'm aware of where he's coming from, and the fact is he has a very valid point of view, because the current rates, while they cover all the water costs and everything, and other things from Fall River, they do not cover all the work the highway department does on the meters. It does not cover all the work that Paula has sending out the bills. And we do pay the accountant a little bit out of the enterprise fund, but those two things are not covered in water rates. And going forward, as this little water utility we have grows, it should cover all the cost. And I would assume that if you're going to pay $15,000 for a consultant, that we're going to get a broader study on the rates. But we recommend holding the rate steady at $8.30 a CCF for fiscal 2027.
Thank you. Jake, did you want to add anything?
No, I think Maury covered it pretty well with respect to kind of the rates. I mean, we're beholden to Fall River. This year, they did not increase their rates at all. Maury is well aware where I come on the water rates and probably would not have supported an increase even at the IOC level. So, you know, with a 14% increase last year, keeping it flat right now, I agree with IOC and where we are with that.
I move we accept the recommendation of the IOC for maintaining a level rate structure for the coming fiscal year.
I second.
Is there any more discussion on the board before we open it up to the public?
I have a couple questions. So the 424 referenced, is that what a Fall River resident pays?
Yes.
Okay, and the 870 is more than double what they're paying. Talk about the 5% above the residential rate at the 20 million gallons. At what point do we hit 20 million gallons of usage in this town?
Well, we go from 55 to 25 to 5% over those rates at 20 million gallons, as you mentioned. 20 million gallons is about 26,800 CCF.
Okay,
And we are about there right now. And we have added 50 customers. We added the school, of course, Macklemore, as well as some commercial customers on Route 6 that had PFAS problems. And along the way, we added, quite a few additional residences in what we call the Macklemore Loop. And so we now have up about 215, 218 customers, up about 50 from a year ago. So that should push us over that 20 million gallons. And so that is something going forward that is very favorable for us, and our previous administrator negotiated that.
so if we get above the 20 million gallons, our per unit cost is going to drop, which means water rates will eventually drop. This isn't a,
The markup from
Yes.
Fall River drops at that, it's one of the thresholds in which the rate drops. The rate to us drops. And probably, we have the two federal grants, the direct congressional grants. And when we implement those, we'll probably push ourselves right over that. When we do the next extension, we'll push ourselves into that category.
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Anything else from the board? This is a public hearing. Is there any comments or questions from the public? Seeing none. So we have a motion and a second to retain the current, to make no increase in the water rate. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen. The next item we have is a request to set the user rates for municipal electric vehicle charging stations at 28 cents per kilowatt and $2 an hour idle time effective July 1, 2026. So Chris, you want to tell us about this one?
Certainly. So, as the board is aware, over the last several months, the town has been looking at its service charges across its various departments and workflows and permits. One of the things, that I've been reviewing since starting is how the town handles its EV charging stations. Currently, the town doesn't charge a fee for people to connect here at Town Hall or other location at the annex. Now, that is something that is a cost to the town that we are subsidizing about $11,000 a year, and that is expected to go up. Currently, for this last year, the most recent data I have is we had 1,345 charging sessions, with an average session length of just under 9 hours. So these stations are getting use. I expect them to get increasing use. In looking at what the cost is to the town, as I mentioned, through our electricity account, we are absorbing that right now. The idea behind this proposed fee structure would be that this would cover operating costs as well as help support whatever the ongoing maintenance and service charges are, because we have a subscription that lets us join the ChargePoint network that we pay annual fee on, as well as just routine maintenance on that. And then in addition to the charging rate, just an idle fee that's being proposed of $2 per hour after the first 30 minutes. So it does provide a grace period, but because we do have a limited number of charging stations, this would also encourage people who are utilizing them to move their vehicle once their vehicle is fully charged or it's been disconnected. So happy to answer any questions on
But-
this proposal.
So I have a question. So do we need to make any changes to our charging stations to accept payment?
No, so right now, connectivity is through the ChargePoint app, through their interface. We would establish through our existing package this pricing structure, and that's how it'd be implemented. So, when people go and they search for availability, the fees and the rate structure would be incorporated into that.
So we don't have to add a credit card machine or something like
No.
that to the?
No, we
And
didn't.
then so what's the mechanism for the town vehicle to be charged?
So there is a way for us to set up a permission in there, a user group, or as an example, or code, for example, for employees that will be able to avoid that
bypass.
charge. Yeah, bypass the payment, correct.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I just, a couple of questions. How many, you might have said, how many charging stations do we have in town right now?
So we have 2 with 4 ports.
2 with 4 ports.
So each has 2 different ports. to
Okay.
them.
Well, I'm 100% in favor of this. I would leave the town hall and saw an individual that would park their car here for the evening, for their morning commute the next day, obviously getting their charge for free, and it was consistent. So the fact that I'm already subsidizing the electric car one way or the other, I don't need to subsidize it again with my taxpayer money.
Anything else? So this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public have anything? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
So the motion is to set the user rates for municipal electric vehicle charging stations at 28 cents per kilowatt and $2 an hour idle time effective July 1. That was your motion, right?
That was.
Okay.
I'd go a lot higher, but I'll go with that one.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, that's unanimous. We have one more public hearing. We have a request from John Rodriguez, for a 6-month seasonal trailer permit for recreational purposes to locate a trailer at 95 Mosier Lane. The property is shown on Assessor's Map 76A, Lot 95. Can you tell us about this one? I'm not sure where Mosier Lane is.
Yes, so the application includes a standard trailer permit, including removal at the end of the permit period, non-permanent electrical hookup, and Board of Health requirements. My recommendation would be to approve, subject to the standard permit conditions required from Building and Board of Health.
So typically when we approve trailer permits, so first of all, typically it's the East Beach trailer, so this is not an East Beach location. And then we also typically approve them for the event of like a fire that someone's rebuilding for construction or something. Do we have any, is there a reason like that in here for that?
So let me just take a look. I did not see that. but
Is the
I can
applicant
just
here?
confirm.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see like a reason. Is it,
He just said he was in a.
you're in a butter? All right, so we'll get to you in a second then.
So I do not see a stated reason here in the application. that
Yeah, I
was
didn't see
submitted.
one either. All right. So, but this is still a seasonal trailer permit. Okay. So any questions from the board?
No, I would just echo your sentiments because we're pretty strict on the last one when we approved that permit for a camper with respect to them rebuilding their home after fire. So I don't know what the exact reason for this one is. I'm just reading through the application where they'll be using the dump station at the Horsnick Beach Campground and various other things. So I'd agree if there's more information.
So we can certainly follow up with the applicant if the board did want to continue it until it got more information.
Well, because I would also want
Yeah.
to know if they're proposing occupying it, right? So there's,
Right.
it seems like they are, that's why they're applying for a permit, so a little more information would be good, but.
Yes.
I know we have at least one abutter. Did you want to make a comment or ask a question? You have to go to the microphone.
Douglas Davis, Lot
Oh,
7.
wait. Val, is that on? It is? Okay, go ahead. I couldn't hear you very well.
Douglas Davis, Lot 77, John Reed Road. So, is it required to go before the Board of Appeals to get a variance for a trailer permit?
No, it's required to go to the select board. So the select board has, the select board is the one that authorizes trailer permits. So like I said before, typically, it's the East Beach trailers have a process. Typically, we approve them when there's like a fire and someone's rebuilding their house or something like that. We don't typically just approve random trailer. It's not impossible. We're the authority that could do it.
That's East Beach Road, so it's right along John.
Oh, so it's close to the beach.
Yeah,
All right.
that's East.
Well,
Okay. Go ahead.
well, in 1986, it was required, and my dad got a variance through the Board of Appeals. According to this paper right here, if you want to see it,
I believe you.
well,
I don't know what the changes of laws are now.
I'm sorry,
I don't know what you could be right, it's possible.
well,
Because.
Can
so-
you have, but I think what you're saying is, he doesn't have a variance, right?
I don't know.
You're concerned that there is no.
I don't know,
variance.
if the applicant's not here, you can't ask him, I
Right.
suppose.
Yeah. Did you have other, that's one
Yeah, I
question
have
we want to
other,
bring
I
up.
do have another concern.
Yep, go ahead.
There's a summer road that his lot is on. He has a house, and now he has a lot where he wants to put a trailer. And they consider that a summer road in the back. It's at Skidley Lane. Some people call it Mosier, whatever. But since 1920, it's been in my family, the property. And the summer road's always been open till he moved in, and he closes the road. So I was concerned to see if he's gonna have a trailer, people are gonna come in and out. He didn't want people driving down this easement. He doesn't own it, it's an easement. They call it a summer road, but he closes it off. So I wanted to ask him personally what he was gonna do. What is the requirements? I mean,
So it looks like, if I'm looking at that right, it looks like there is a public roadway.
well, it's,
So one would not be allowed to
I thought
interfere
so,
with the public
too.
roadway. Yeah, okay.
yeah. You have an idea. So this is a piece of state land. This is the lot he wants to put the trailer on. He blocks it. This is our lot here. Blocks it right there. And then it's blocked down here. So you can't go out. I believe you can only block one end. But I'm not, I'm just questioning.
That would be, yeah, that's a different issue. Also an issue, but a different issue.
Yeah, well, I thought the
So-
applicant would have to be here to answer those questions, but,
Well, we haven't taken a vote yet, but I'm guessing he's not going to get it approved right now.
well, thank you.
But
why I'm here.
I think it's important to know the questions and concerns we have, because if we continue the hearing for another time and get back with the applicant, like we suggested, maybe we might do, it's good to hear the issues that we'd want addressed in the next hearing. So you're concerned about the access on the roadway, and concerned about whether he has the proper variances to, or
Well, that's-
whether he
yeah.
needs variances in
Well,
order
that's,
to.
yeah, I don't know, if you follow this pursuant to article, whatever, I'm not a lawyer, but it says it's required. That's why my father acquired it for this property. But
Did you have other
maybe it's
concerns,
changed,
too?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
do
know.
know that this road, and he knows that I don't like it being shut off. He doesn't own it.
Okay, thank you. Any other points you want to?
No, I think that's all, but I wish he was here, I could ask him, we could get some questions answered, but.
All right, thank you. Is there any other comments from the public? So what's the pleasure of the board?
I would like to make a motion to table the request from John Roberts for a 6-month seasonal trailer permit for recreational purposes to locate a trailer at 95 Mosier Lane.
I think the proper motion would be to continue the public hearing until June 22nd at 6:10.
My motion is to continue the public hearing on June 22nd at 6:10.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, that's unanimous. So we're tabling that one. But Chris, if you and your department can get with the applicant.
Will do.
To address the
So
concerns.
you'll send another.
We'd have to send another notice for the, oh, do we have to send another notice?
Oh, we do not.
No, so we're continued to the hearing, so we're not going to send another notice. The 22nd at 6:10.
I'm sorry, the 22nd.
The 22nd, yep,
6.
6:10, same as this
Thank you so
one.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
So license and permits, is anyone from the Holy Ghost here? No. All right, so the license and permits, so Mr. Mundy, you're kind of new here. We get a lot of requests from the Holy Ghost Club. They're typically in order for one-day alcoholic beverage licenses. So we have a request from the Holy Ghost Club at 171 Sodom Road for one-day all alcohol liquor licenses for the following events. Saturday, June 13, for a concert from 4 to 9. Sunday, June 14, a baby shower from 1 to 5. Saturday, June 27, 2026, a memorial from 12 to 5. Sunday, June 28, a wedding from 12 to 5. Is all the paperwork in order?
The paperwork is in order. And if the board is going to be considering approval, just, the police did make a note that they're requesting a police detail there for those days and events. So just conditional approval, subject to police department's request.
I would move that.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. We have a request from the Coastal Wine Trail of Southeastern New England for a one-day wine and malt beverage permit for their annual Farmers Market Festival at 200 Pine Hill Road on June 13 from 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Is there anyone here for that? This is also a recurring event, right? Is
It has
paperwork in
been,
order?
yes.
Is there a police recommendation?
Yes, similar to the last request, they are requesting at least 2 police details in coordination with their department. I will also note, I believe that they are still waiting to receive their approval for their MDAR agricultural event certification from the state, so I would make any approval contingent on them receiving the necessary approvals from MDAR.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion approved.
Second.
So it's a motion to approve, subject to the police department recommendations and MDR certification. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from Police Chief Christopher Dunn, who is not here, but we have Officer McCarthy, her proper title is. So we have a request from Police Chief Christopher Dunn to appoint Tegan Solera to full-time EMD dispatcher.
Yes, so Tegan Solera has been a part-time dispatcher. She's completed all of her training. There's an open spot available, and we would like to have her made her full-time effective June 2nd, tomorrow,
All right,
if you so desire.
Chris, do you have a recommendation?
Recommend approval.
Second.
Or are you moving that?
I'd like to make a motion. I make a motion to appoint Taylor Solera to full-time EMD dispatcher effective tomorrow.
Rick moved it, Dick seconded it. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from Police Chief Christopher Dunn to appoint the following to community service officers effective May 31st, 2026. Jacob Mock, Kalen Days, Ryan Suave, Eric Madonna, Robert Deschennes, and Howard Wong.
Yes. So I'd like to talk about Jacob Mock and Kalen Days first. They're already town employees. Jacob Mock, who couldn't make it here tonight, is currently a full-time night dispatcher, and he's been here for 2.5 years. He also resides in Westport. Kalen Days, she's also a full-time dispatcher. She's been here for 2 years. Like I said, they have backgrounds that have already been completed. Their appointment would be upon completion of their training for CSO.
Okay. And what about the other ones? We don't have to, so we can move them all together.
Okay. So we have 4 retired members of law enforcement. The first would be Ryan Save. He has over 31 years at the Bristol County Sheriff's Department, and he retired at the rank of captain. Eric Madonna, he's from Fall River, retired from Fall River Police Department. He was also served in the United States Marine Corps and the Army. He had 2 deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Eric also lives in Westport, and he's married with a daughter. And we have Robert Deschaines. He is also retired after 29 years as a police officer in the city of Fall River. He also proudly served in the United States Coast Guard, and he is also lives in Westport with his wife. Howard Wong, who could not attend tonight, has extensive law enforcement experience. He has over 38 years for the town of Dartmouth, and he also retired at the rank of sergeant.
And can you just tell us what a community service officer is?
So a community service officer is not a police officer. They have no police powers. They don't have a gun. They have 0 equipment except for a radio. They serve to assist traffic, enforce traffic direction, intersections, road construction.
Okay. All right, anything from the board? What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to appoint.
Excuse me, that would be effective June 28th as well, too.
Motion to appoint, go ahead.
And just with the conditions that candidates are subject to a successful background check, physical, and required training.
You just said June 28th, but it says May 31st here. What's the date it should be effective?
I think it was a typo.
Okay.
So I'll refer to you as to the date, the proper date.
I spoke with the chief. It's going to be that second date, the,
June 28th?
28th.
Okay.
yeah, June 28th.
June 28th, okay.
Motion to appoint the following 2 community service officers on June 28th, pending, obviously, passing a background check and any required training
And physical requirements.
in physical requirements.
Thank you. Sorry.
But that-
You say physical or fiscal?
Physical.
Fiscal.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Anything while you're here? Anything police department wants to share with us?
I think I'm up next for the National Night Out.
Oh, well, yeah, let's do that. So we're going to move down to 6A. So 6A, we have a request from Police Chief Christopher Dunn to host an annual National Night Out on August 4th. Want to tell us about that one?
Yeah, so this will be the second annual National Night Out. Last year was a great success, the first time doing it. We had volunteers, fire department, obviously from the police department, highway department. We've already been in contact with the harbor master. They want to be involved. We had representatives from the opioid task force there, local food trucks, vendors. It was a great time, and we would like to use the old high school again. I know the chief has already been in contact with Dr. Fran Roy. She's fully supportive of it, and we'd like to have your approval to have it there again.
That was a great event last year. That was the first
It
year.
was a really good time. I was impressed with the turnout of people who showed up.
Any questions?
I move we approve first night out.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Thank you. Anything, are you here for anything else?
On behalf of Chief Chris Dunn, I'd like to thank Carol Freitas for her Memorial Day events. Last week was a good time. Also, he would like to talk about the Westport drone unit, how we continue to use it almost weekly now. We just had that huge fire over at Mid-City. Officer Corey Mack and Detective Turner Ryan spent numerous hours. I think Corey Mack spent over 24 hours there, continually flying the drone up and down, putting the thermal on the hot spots. The fire department could hit it with the cannon. It was good. Also, just last week, the MSP had a crash on 195 in Westport. When they showed up, the vehicle was unoccupied, fearing that the person might have been injured. Corey Mack just happened to be working an overtime shift that night. They called him out. He flew the drone up, and within 10 minutes, he had the person on the thermal image, and they ended up taking him into custody.
That's great. Thank you. Great work. All right, anything else? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a request from the Recreation Director, Dana Stewart, to accept the resignations of the following members from the Recreation Commission, effective June 30, 2026. Amanda Mazzaferro, Olivia Carrero, and Tim Gillespie. Did you want to come up? I know you have a few things on the agenda here.
Yes, thank you. Dana Stewart, Recreation Director. I couldn't let this opportunity pass without thanking these members. So I wrote a little something, if you'll indulge me. Olivia and Amanda both served for the past 3 years and were extremely helpful with many of our large-scale events and planning of the 2 new playgrounds. They both have families, both with 3 children each, and both work full-time. So I really appreciate their commitment to helping the Recreation Department grow and just want to thank them. Tim Gillespie, I think a lot of you know Tim Gillespie. He's a longtime resident here in town. And I started here over 7 years ago to help form the Recreation Department. And Tim Gillespie was on the Recreation Commission before I even formed the Recreation Department. And he wasn't even sure when I asked him how long he's been on the Recreation Commission. But he thinks it's about 26 years. If I could give him an award, I probably would. So he was a constant support to me and very knowledgeable about all things Westport. His calm, friendly manner and likability factor are unmatched, making him an absolute pleasure to work with. He helped with setting goals and dreaming of what could be as an important part of creating the Recreation Department. He was there at the very first Recreation Open House event and other special events over the years. We worked together with volunteers to help erect the wall in the back of the outdoor stage, which then allowed us to do the outdoor concerts and the movies and other things with our camps. He was there when we planned to improve our 2 town playgrounds and was the liaison between the Recreation Commission and the Community Preservation Committee. He made a very big difference in our community and probably still does and will. And I appreciate him in every way, and he'll be very much missed. And I just wanted to publicly thank him. So, thank you. That's all.
What's the pleasure of the board, or displeasure of the board?
May I say something?
Just a minute.
For the election.
Let's get a motion first.
Motion to accept the resignations.
Second.
Go ahead.
Tim Gillespie has been on the CPC since its inception in 2002, and he's been a very important member. So he's been at least since that time. Yeah. And we thank him very much.
Thank you.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Then we have a request from Dana Stewart to appoint Brian Belcourt to the Recreation Commission. I love that you roped him in.
And so that is also in thanks to Betty Slade, so thank you. Brian, as a past select board member, was always very supportive of the Recreation Commission and Recreation Department, which was very much appreciated. And so we're happy to have him serve on the Recreation Commission starting the new fiscal year.
Madam Chair, motion to approve?
Second.
Is there any discussion? So how many, do you have a number of openings now on the commission?
So I have 2 people that have also submitted their letters of interest, which will be presented at the next select board meeting.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Then we have a request from Dana to appoint the following as camp counselors: Shelby Orr, Tess Sylvia, Jenna Egby, Chloe Baker, Jenna George, Elijah Gonzalez, Isabella Egby.
Yes, so I'm happy to say we have returning camp counselors coming to us, as well as some new people. And we'll be holding, or I'll be holding a orientation or training of sorts in June for them. And they're all very excited to have a great summer camp season, so.
Do we have a date for them to start?
So the camps start
Or the effective?
end of June.
The effective date for their employment? Yes.
So the camp's first week of camp is June 29th, actually. It was postponed due to the school starting or letting
Yeah,
out
because
later.
school is out late.
Yeah.
Did you have some? What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to appoint the following camp counselors pending any required training or background checks. Second?
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye, that's unanimous. Do you want to just tell us how we can find out about these camps if people want to sign up?
Sure, thank you very much. Just visit our website at westportrec.com, or that's westportrec.com. You can also visit the Town of Westport website, and we have a link on that, the recreation page, to our other website where you can look at all of our programs and events and sign up and pay online. You can also pay by check or come in my office and pay that way, so.
And I saw you're advertising for the Westport 250 concert.
Yes, so as part of our Westport Summer Concert Series, our first concert is going to be on Thursday, July 2nd, from 6 to 8 p.m. And we are celebrating America 250 with a celebration concert to kickstart the series. And we have the featured band Calamity Brain that's going to be playing. And we're also going to have some food trucks, some giveaways, some arts and crafts, and hopefully face painting. So it'll be a lot of fun and just a nice day outside, hopefully.
So it's July 2nd.
July 2nd.
All right. Anything else you want to share before you?
I am also in the process of booking our last band for that series, so that information will be hopefully online this week. And our outdoor movie series is also currently online.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
We're on 5F. We have a request from the Cemetery Department to appoint Jared Manley as cemetery laborer effective June 2nd, 2026. Did you want to tell us about this?
Yes, so in your packet, you have a recommendation from our cemetery foreman, Michael Brouillard, requesting the appointment of Jared Manley as a seasonal cemetery laborer effective June 2nd, 2026. He cites his landscaping experience and a strong work ethic and recommends approval, and so do I.
Thank you. Gentlemen?
Make a motion to appoint Jared Manley as a cemetery laborer effective June 2nd, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. We have a request from Brian Gallagher from the Commission on Disability Chair to appoint Kaylee Vieira. Is the other one down here? No? Right? Do you have anything on this one? You should appoint.
I do
appointment
not.
To a committee.
Madam
Right.
Chair.
Go ahead.
I serve on the Commission on Disability. Ms. Vieira appeared before us and made a presentation and outlined her background in working for organizations that help those with disabilities. We recommended her unanimously and highly at the same time.
Okay.
So I would make a motion to appoint her to a position on the Commission on Disability.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have appointment form for the Southeastern Regional Transit Authority, CERTA. You're our CERTA rep, right?
I am.
You want to tell us about this?
Well, it has to do with the buses, and it's been a very interesting opportunity. I've done it now for several years. I'm willing to do it again. We meet once a month. It's just generally centers around service, civil rights issues, and budget. So I'm willing to continue to do that. And I guess I have to be appointed officially.
Make a motion to appoint Dick Brewer to the Southeastern Regional Transit Authority Board.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Now we're on 6B, request for project letters of support for grant applications. The Community One Stop for Growth for the Westport Master Plan. Do you have anyone to talk to that?
Yes, I believe Jeff is here this evening. Jeff Bull is here to talk about the Hicksbridge Landing upgrade, but I'll just go over both of these. So there's two letters of support for consideration. One is for a Seaport Economic Council grant. This is for the Hicksbridge Landing, focusing on access improvements, parking management, stormwater controls, the boat launch redesign, and salt marsh restoration. The other one is the Community One Stop for Growth, and this is focused on doing a master plan update. So the last time it was fully updated was 2016. So I believe we've talked about this at prior meetings as well.
All right, so what you're asking for the board is letters of support for the grant applications for these two projects.
That is correct. So within your packet, you do have draft letters of support that have been typed out on behalf of the board.
Right. I thought you just said Jeff Bull was here, but
I believe he was going to be speaking.
Jeff
to
here?
this, but
no. All right.
all right. Well, those are the two projects.
I move we submit these applications.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to submit the project letters in support of the grant applications as they were presented in the packet. Any discussion?
I just have one comment on that. On the Hicksbridge Landing, a few people have reached out with concern, and I brought this up in the past, that, obviously getting the grants, at least from the state, that it still allows local control over the Hicksbridge Landing. So I just want to make that as a part of the record, that I will approve it, but I still want to make sure that Westport still exercises control over that Hicksbridge Landing, no matter what grants end up coming through. Thank you.
Right, did we have a motion?
Yes.
We did. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from the highway surveyor, Christopher Gonzalez, to approve the 2026 Phase 2 paving project intention to award notice to be issued to PJ Keating Company. Want to tell us about this one?
Yes, so as you noted, this is a request for intent to award. This project covers paving and related work on 9 roads here in town, which is approximately 6.5 miles. And the proposed award amount is $1,271,515. Recommend approval.
And just for the public, so the roads for this one are Sanford Road from 595 to Route 6, Davis Road from Route 6 to Old Bedford Road, Idola Street from Davis Road to the dead end, Donna Street, S and N, I guess it's off the north dead ends, Mason Street, south and north dead ends, Reed Road from Old County Road to Dartmouth Town Line, Old County Road East, House 533 to House 497, Old County Road West, Main Road at the Old High School to Route 177, and Mouse Mill Road, Old County Road to Route 177.
Madam Chair.
And then there's some alternates. Yes.
And I know Chris brought this up before at a previous meeting. This was actually a grant that usually doesn't go out to very many communities, so it was great that Westport was able to get that. And then I know some people have reached out to me with concern about sidewalks in their road on Sanford Road, and this will be used to address those safety issues with the sidewalks and handicap accessibility with those sidewalks. That's it.
And you recommend approval, right?
Yes.
All right. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
Madam Chair, should we congratulate Mr. Bull on passing his
He's a little late.
item today?
Mr. Bull, your letter passed. so.
Maybe better without me.
We don't usually have this many people here. It's kind of animated. It was great. We have we're on 6D, a request from Highway Surveyor Christopher Gonzalez to approve a Chapter 90 Town Paving Improvement Phase 2, this is a different one, of years 2025 and 2026. You want to tell us about this one?
Yes, this is through Chapter 90. This is for the 2026, as you said, Phase 2 request. This is, again, for 9 roads, includes paving, line painting, drainage replacement, and signage
In our
improvement.
packet, this is the same streets, so,
So I believe, my understanding is both projects are packaged together from a funding standpoint, so just different funding sources here that they're pulling from.
okay. Is there any discussion?
I move to approve the request of Highway Surveyor Chris Gonzalez to approve the Chapter 90 town paving improvement.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Now we have a request from the Westport Democratic Town Committee to host a food drive at the Town Hall Annex on July 11, July 18, and July 25. Is there someone here to speak to that request?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Timothy Caton. Does everybody have this packet information?
We do, we have the letter.
Okay, so everybody's seen the letter. And I don't know if there's any concerns or not with it, but the Westport Democratic Committee in the last few years has really stepped up in doing some good public service for the town of Westport, you know, whether it be with Betty Slade cleaning the cemeteries, or we did some, you know, clothing drives and boot drives. We've done, you know, we did kind of on a small basis some stuff already for the food pantry. And we're in the parade, and we just, you know, just figured that doing good services for the town is a good deed in terms for the Westport Democratic Committee. So I'm in support of this, and hopefully we can get your support too.
So the request is to set up a booth in the parking spot during the hours that the summer market is happening. And we've gotten confirmation from the farmer's market that they don't have any objections. I also just want to note that there's no sign that
Right.
indicates who's hosting the food drive. It'll just be a sign, a generic sign. This is for the food drive.
Right.
But that members would be wearing
The
T-shirts
Correct.
with their, and advertising for the event would go out from the Democratic Town Committee. with the
Correct,
advertising.
correct, to the media and all that, yep.
Okay. And then we also had, you also ran by the Economic Development Committee.
Correct.
And then the Recreation Department said it wasn't under their purview because it's not renting the gym, it's out in the
Correct.
parking lot. So that would sit under the
Correct.
Select Board approval.
Right, and we're not gonna interfere at all with the services that normally go on those days. We're gonna be set up back closer to the back parking lot by the football fields, by the basketball courts and all that kind of stuff, yep.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Just one comment. Appreciate you presenting before us. I've spoken to a few members of the Democratic Town Committee with respect to this, and I appreciate you from the standpoint of not doing a lot of advertising, obviously, since it's a town space. I appreciate everything you're doing for the food pantry and the other stuff you do, but as you know, everything is a contentious issue, whether it's, you know, Republican, Democrat, or whatever, with respect to
it.
what you're doing. So I appreciate you taking the opportunity to raise funds and raise, bring in food for the food pantry, and then do it in the fashion that you are doing it. So thank you for that, and if anyone else on the other side wants to come, we'd be more than happy to approve them as well, so thank you.
I move approval of the committee's request.
Second?
Is there any further discussion?
I would just like to publicly thank you as well. I am the volunteer board president of the Westport Food Pantry, and I appreciate your efforts. Thank you very much.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve as mentioned. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you.
All right, thank you,
I just want to
everybody.
say before you guys all get up, that please, if you're welcome to stay. This is a public meeting and there's a lot of important work going on. But if you choose to leave, please do not congregate in the hallway and chat. It's lovely outside. Go outside and chat, okay? Thank you.
I think that's directed at me, Shauna. I stand out there
Don't
and talk.
stand in the hallway and talk. Go outside.
Thank you very much.
Just email.
You can stay, it's a democracy.
David, you're getting naked the whole road yourself?
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Okay, we're on F now. The notice of preliminary permit application with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, to request for comments regarding the Cuddy Hunk Test Range Project Feasibility Study. So can you tell us about this one? Because this one was kind of odd.
Yes, it was new for me as well. So FERC is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And as you mentioned, this is a request for comments. This is for a project, Cuddy Hunk Test Range Project Feasibility Study. This was submitted to this federal agency by the Marine Renewable Energy Collaborative. The proposed project is about 2,000 feet off of Cuddy Hunk Island. And this study, this project would be really done in order to give them a priority for a future license application. So the project itself, there's a few different elements to it, but it would consist of a wave energy converter structure with a buoy, second buoy for data acquisition, anchored mooring system, and a buried submarine cable. And a couple of other elements to this, including a solar battery system and cellular and satellite communication system for receiving data from that system. The proposed project would have a annual energy generation of 200 megawatt hours. So, again, this was something that our office received. The request for comments is at the end of the month, June 29th, at 5 p.m. This is something that if the town were looking to weigh in on, we can certainly do so. But I did want to bring it to the board's attention because it does seem like a rather large project that's being proposed or being studied.
Okay, so the question here is whether we want to submit any comments or motions to intervene in the
That's-
project. Okay, yes.
If I may ask the question, test range implies weaponry of some kind. Is there anything related to that, or is this?
Nothing that is in the materials that were sent to us. I don't know the purpose of,
So this is a Marine Renewable Energy Collaborative. So from what I can tell here, it's a, I don't know why they call it a test range, because, it sounds military, but it looks like it's a wave energy converter structure. So they're trying to capture renewable energy from wave systems. So then the associated infrastructure to go with that. And this is out Cuttyhunk. It's not super close to us, but it's out in our waters here. Did you have more?
No.
No. There's no weapons. So does the board feel like they want to make any comment? Does anyone from the public have anything you want us to comment? Okay, I don't think we need to take action unless.
and I'll just note, this is a feasibility study, so I don't think they're going for the full project right now, so.
Okay.
Keep us posted. I'm excited.
I hear our offshore wind committee can.
No, we do not need to,
that.
we don't need to do waves now, too.
Wind and waves. All right, so we're taking no action on F. For G, we have a request to approve the contract amendment number 5 for Para Corporation for the Route 177 roundabout design project. So you want to tell us about that one?
Certainly. So as the board knows, this project has been ongoing for several years now. PAR has been contracted by the town to do the design work. This is going through the Mass DOT project process. So over the years, we have entered into or continue to enter into design agreements with PAR, as we do the full design of this proposed roundabout, and as we accommodate the requests that come from Mass DOT. PAR recently completed 100% design, submitted into Mass DOT, received comments back, and has really been working with Mass DOT during that process. It came to my attention that we were nearing, and we have since fully expended the funds that we've allocated for this last round of work that PAR did. So, here a while back, I reached out to Mass DOT, informing them of this to see if this would be something, because we are very close, if they would be willing to take on the remaining administrative responsibility associated with this project. And I will note that just my understanding is over time, the goalpost has moved a little bit with regards to what Mass DOT is looking for, what the permitting process has been from their side. And so, I think that went into part of our request is, hey, we've put a lot into this. I received back correspondence very firmly saying that this is something that the town has committed and is obligated to do based off of the approval the town received in 2020. I went back to PAR to say, what do we as a town need to do from a scope of work standpoint for us to fulfill the obligation that we committed to several years ago. And essentially within your packet, you have that summary is finishing the review comments with Mass DOT, completing the final design based on those comments, doing the specifications and estimates, the bid documents, coordinating with Mass DOT on the right-of-way, pre-bid, and ultimately construction administration, which is not included here. The proposed amendment that's before you this evening is just over or just under 53,000. And as I mentioned before, there would be one additional addendum that would be needed next year for the construction administration. But based off of our funding now, based off the phasing of this project and the fact that this work wouldn't be, based on Mass DOT's schedule, wouldn't be until 2027, I'm proposing that we take that up at a later date, if that's something the board wants to move forward with. But really, at this point, I have to bring it back to the board just because, again, we would need to enter into an updated agreement with PAR based off what Mass DOT is asking of us.
And what's the source of funding for this 52,727?
So we do have administrative grant funds that we are able to tap into through our existing Board of Health Administrative Fund as well as some other funds.
Okay, so if I understood that correctly, so this is the final work that is needed to finalize the plan so that it could go out for a construction bid?
That's correct. So this would take us through the full design and the bid phase services. So the only thing that this would not cover is their service hours out on the construction site, looking at the work that's being done.
And then assuming that it went out for bid, then who's paying for the construction?
That would be Mass DOT.
So we had to pay for the design, engineering, but they're paying for any construction?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, any questions from the board? I know Jake did.
Why do you assume me all the time? I have obviously been a vocal opponent of this project at the roundabout or the rotary at 177, especially with respect to land takings, and then obviously the development that has occurred there since this project was put in place, many years ago. I know it is obviously a result of a horrible accident that occurred there, but we do have a lot of accidents that occur all over Westport where we're not addressing it to this degree. And of the things in Westport that I've gotten the most feedback from constituents, Route 177 Rotary, the DOC Healthy Trail Road widening we're dealing with, and then the Drift Road Bridge. And what is the common denominator amongst all those? It's basically the state or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts running these projects. I think when we lose local control and we go to funding, you can actually Google and take a look at some cities and towns in Mass, even in this fiscal environment, have denied or tried not to use Chapter 90 funds because it comes with costs, like land takings, like future maintenance responsibilities. So I don't think that a $5 million rotary on 177, which I travel quite often as well, is necessary. I think there are other ways to accomplish this, but I will continue to be opposed to this project and the town spending money on this project any further. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Rick, were you raising your hand? I couldn't tell if you were raising your hand or you were just...
Deep in thought.
Okay.
I think this is a tricky one because I think that something badly needs to change where that rotary is proposed. I don't know if a rotary is the right answer, but something needs to change at that intersection.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jake that it's kind of unfortunate. We asked the DOT to put in a stoplight there is what the ask was. And then they come back and do their study and the engineering, and now, no, they don't want to put a stoplight in, they're putting a rotary in. I actually travel rotary at 44 and 118 pretty frequently, and I love that rotary, it's great. But it's also a very different circumstance. You have two very busy roads. But I'm in support of continuing with the project because I do think that there are some problems at that intersection. I don't love the rotary, but I think that we've committed to all of this design, that we should get it to the final design personally.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
I will second it.
Is there any Discussion from the public? Any comments from the public? You just need to introduce yourself?
Yes, Rob Krozik. I have a problem with this too, because I travel all to Boston.
You need to get close to the mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Rob Krozik. I travel a lot to Boston, and I deal with rotaries all the time, especially from, local, Tiverton, the Attleboro Rotary, where the Cumberland Farms is. It's horrible. People do not drive. It's like a racetrack. You constantly, people are coming at you. They don't know how, it's a hit and miss with an accident. To me, I think it's not cost effective for taxpayer dollars. It's ridiculous. I can't see why you can't put lights with solar, okay? Much cheaper to monitor stoplights, Sanford Road. Everybody stops there. They don't run the light. I can't see you spending $5 million where, guess what? They could put it into the schools. You know what I mean? It's kind of, it's a waste of money. You know, $5 million for a rotary. It's just, and like I said, I travel to Boston, Brigham Women's, Faulkner Hospital, and they have rotaries over there, and it's constantly freezing because someone's going to hit you. It's just a waste of money. I'm like, if you can't hear that from people, it's like, it's our tax dollars that's going to this. And there's so many other ways, I mean, to spend our money. And a rotary, $5 million rotary, it's ridiculous. So what's wrong with you see the light, the temporary light that's on Route 6 and, Gifford Road, okay? Why can't they have a solar light? Solar lights back and forth, saves energy, much more cost effective. I'm not like a big green person, but come on. I mean, this is $5 million. How much would it be electric bill for half solar? You know, I mean, that's my opinion, you know. So,
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, Michelle Carty. My husband Ron and I are here, as we have been at almost every meeting, and I repeat the same objection to this. We live on the corner of 177 and Tickle, and I agree with all the comments just made, and also believe it is a terrible decision to remove some of the wetlands there, encroach on property, and make all of the other changes that are being made. Concerned about flooding. The last time we were here, we talked about why they're moving wires and putting up new poles instead of moving it underground, and several other things that we were at a fence to see if there could be anything to protect. You put up a barrier or anything. I haven't heard anything back about that, nor any other sort of communication yet since January. So I'd like to follow up on that. And just feel that this is a big waste of money that could be managed a different way. And wondering what other actions we as citizens can take beyond this board, not just to not pay for this $58,000, but what do we go to the governor? Who do you go to in Massachusetts to say, why are we spending $5 million on this?
So the decision before us today is the extension of the contract. But do you have any thoughts about that or what she just said about who to go to?
Yeah, so I mean, just with regards to how Mass DOT came to the recommendation that it did, you know.
I read the whole thing and
Well,
found many problems.
Well, I guess just not speaking necessarily to the report that was done, but I guess just the standard that they go about looking at these projects as a whole. You know, that would be Mass DOT and really policy decisions coming out of that department that, again, flow down to us here when we're applying and they're considering these projects. So
I think it would be Mass DOT and then your state representative and your state senator and then probably governor's office, I guess.
Thank you.
David Lima, 418D Drift Road. My comment is, I agree with Jake. I think it's not an appropriate use of monies, but I think, if anything, the lesson to be learned, having dealt with the
Guardrails.
bridge and DOT money and Chapter 90 monies, the lesson learned is that we get money from the state, we lose all power. And I think, if anything that comes from this exercise is that we should not be doing this in the future unless it's some unbelievable necessity. This clearly was not, the bridge was not another one of these $3-4 million bridges that we don't need to have. So I think if there's any lesson for the decision makers, present and future, is that we really have to think twice. But when DOT wants to get involved, they're not open to suggestions. They're very close-minded. They're very authoritarian. You do this, or you do it my way, or you don't do it. Okay? We don't need that kind of cooperation from the state if it's going to operate that way. And I think if it goes through, then lessons should be learned. We won't let it happen again. That would be my comment.
Thank you.
Chris, do you know what happens if we don't kick the money in as a town?
I'm sorry, say that.
Do you know what gets triggered if we don't kick the money in as a town?
I can certainly follow up on that piece of it. If we did not hold up our end of the obligation, my guess is it could be looked at punitively for future project considerations.
But we already took that stance with another project in town.
Well,
With the Drift Road Bridge, so.
I mean, I can certainly advise the board, and give you some specifics, but I would just, if we start projects, but we don't follow through and finish them, again,
The only problem, Chris, I have with this is that this is going over, like many projects, over a 4, 5, 6, 7-year time frame, and obviously leadership changes, select board changes, leadership at the police department changes with respect to who was looking for this specific project at the time, and now there are people that actually are looking at it with a different lens or through a different lens that are coming to a little bit different conclusions, and it's unfortunate that you're this far down the road, but no pun intended. But that's the problem we have, is that it takes a long time to get here, and then people are realizing maybe this wasn't the best bet. And I think from my standpoint, it's A, the cost, and B, the taking of land and the houses that were never there until now. They're going to have headlights going through, and I feel horrible for these two residents because they have nowhere to go. They come to us and ask for answers. We don't know, so we send them to Mass DOT, we send them to, and they're not going to get answers from any one of them. Right? And they're not. They're just not going to answer them. They don't have the time or the effort to actually answer residents in Westport. And that's my opinion. And then when we have reps and senators that are trying to secure funding for this project, obviously they're probably not going to be much of help either. So that's my opinion.
Sir?
Yes, my name's Randy. I'm 60 American Legion Highway. We moved there, my wife and I, Elizabeth, 5 years ago. We weren't informed that this was going to happen. And now it's happening, and this is, we love Westport. We moved here from Fall River, and we just love Westport. And to know that this is coming in, if I would have known this, I would have never took the gamble to come here. And it's too bad that we don't have a say as people, how it affects our lives and how the quality of life there is going to change. And no one else cares about that. What happens to our property? Does our property decrease? What happens when you want to sell it, when you're time for retirement and you want to sell? Is anybody going to pick up the difference? I don't know where to go. Just like these people here, what do? You sit back and just let Mass DOT do what they want? I mean, it's tough. Try living around that area. First thing they should do is slow it down. Try that. Put a 40 mile an hour instead of 50 mile an hour. Who's going to go to a rotary at 50 miles an hour if they don't turn the speed around? We need to slow it down, but I don't think a rotary is the way to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, I'm his wife, and I have 2 cents to put in. Why do we not have any signs? Slow down. There's children on the road. Slow down. There's deer crossing. Slow down. There's turtles. There's turtle signs everywhere in Westport. But on 177, there isn't one sign that warns about children crossing or deer. And a deer did get hit in our road, and we did see it, and that was terrible. And I called Westport, and I got rerouted to DOT. And DOT just rerouted me to someone else, and told me to call back to Westport, which routed me right back to DOT. So no answers. I was just looking for signs. That's it.
Yeah. Westport does not have authority to put signs on 177.
I'm not sure if you can speak to it.
You can.
How about, I don't know who that directs and deals with the state and stuff, how about reallocating those funds to Route 6? So you're not potholes.
There is a Route 6 project underway. I don't know the current status, but there is.
$1 million can go towards that, so it's,
But the frustration that we have, which is not the same as you, all you are directly affected, right? We asked them to put a light there, right? That's what we asked them to do, is to put a light there. And they, in the traffic engineering universe and their policies and regulations and things, they determined that this was the best approach.
So you all spoke about the Hicks Big Bridge project. How did that end up, or where is that sitting right now?
It was a drift. It was a drift road.
Kirby- the Kirby
Yeah, Kirby Bridge replacement. We were not, as a town, far enough down the line. I mean, David's laughing. I mean, we dealt with the amount of calls that we had with Mass DOT, PAR Engineering, and others. Laughable, essentially. They were just doing what they had to do to placate us and have a call and still move forward with what they were going to do no matter what. I mean, we're talking about guardrails that would have crash barriers that were equivalent to what should be on the Mass Pike because it fit within the guidelines, and a drop-in situation. So last year there was a vote on the board not to move forward with that permitting and engineering process. So it was at that point where we made that decision not to move forward. So that project has basically not moved forward. Now I don't know. Like, I think you asked the question of Chris, if he were to look at that, if we did not approve the 53,000, what happens with respect to that? I don't know. I'm not going to vote for it no matter what, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Because it's tough, because to be clear, something has to be done there, but this isn't necessarily the right answer.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I agree something should be done. I wanted to bring back, because you weren't here the first time that I spoke about this, you weren't here the first time that I spoke about this. It is important to note that when they did the original survey that made the decision to put a rotary there were not houses there. My house was not there at all the houses up and down that street. The fact that it is 50 miles an hour on that road was made when there were not houses up and down that road. They should lower the speed limit. They should do other things. They've already put up lights. They did a study for years, and they have looked at it, and there have not been an increase in accidents at that. And it is not different than any other intersection, the number of accidents that happen in that area. It's not great when the sun, whatever, there are some things that could be done, but I just really wanted to point that out. So you were aware that when the planning happened, when Mass DOT made these decisions, the town was not the way it is right now, and it's not the right decision for us right now. And music is coming to support me. Awesome.
Continue on.
Very tranquil.
Okay, but you're running out of.
One more, yeah, real quick. Is any way, is this at the planning stage, or as the voters, do we even have a say, like a petition or putting it on the ballot to stop this, and maybe considering the light? Do we have a say in this, or it just state is rah,
So, I mean, well, one, we could not fund the rest of the design, and then it would stop, right? But there, we've done that on another project. It is possible to do that. We asked, I mean, I appreciate, you're right, the circumstances, these projects take so long and so much happens around them, right? That the circumstances are different. So the DOT had hearings. I'm sure you've attended those too, right? The DOT had hearings. They had public input. They had a whole process for over years where they were proposing this. Yeah. So if what we're being asked tonight is to continue to the final design, just to approve the previously made commitment to get to final design. We're being asked to approve that final amount of money to get there.
How about one word?
Deny.
The town of Westport is not, I mean, this is not Constellation because it's all taxpayer money, but the town of Westport, it doesn't go on the ballot for us because it's not a debt exclusion or anything, so. All right, anything else from the board? So we have a motion and a second to extend the contract with PAR. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Were you in favor or opposed?
Aye.
So we have 3 in favor and 2 opposed, so the motion passes. And once again, if you're going to leave, just don't talk in the hallway. All right, the next item we have on the agenda is a review and discussion of the old high school property, the planning proposal, and possible action regarding next steps. So at our last meeting, we had talked about We had talked about potentially dissolving some committees. We've put those off to the next agenda. But we asked the town administrator to solicit input from the board members and to kind of put it together and summarize kind of because we can't talk amongst ourselves, right? So we were talking to Chris. So Chris put together a kind of a summary of where we are and kind of a proposal of a possible next step. So do you want to explain that?
Certainly. And I don't know if you just want to switch to the next slide. Just a few slides here. So just for this evening, my goal is just to summarize the efforts to date, talk a little bit about the conclusions and the findings from the prior studies that have been done, understanding that they all had a little bit of a very different scope of work, talking a little bit about the barriers to reuse in general, talking, as you mentioned, to my one-on-one discussion with each of you, and then recommended next steps just based on that. So next slide, please. So some of these, and I don't think any of these should come as a big surprise, but we have done extensive review of the property. We've looked at the building condition. We've had hazardous material reviews. There have been accessibility reviews for the building, code compliance studies, various reuse concepts, including the community campus, housing, and there has been community input in the form of public workshops where members of the community could weigh in on what they felt was the best use of this building going forward. In addition to that, since the last meeting, I had contacted a separate firm to have them, and they provided a complimentary review of the studies that have been done to date, really with the goal of understanding, do we have everything we need in terms of evaluating the building to determine what our next steps are, right? To make sure that we have the information regarding our baselines. And what they came back to us with was, yes, this has been studied and we really do have the information we need to make the next decision with regards to the building. This is a significant town asset, both its size and scale and how it's currently being used. But as we have known from the prior board discussions and presentations, full reuse of the building is going to be a major expense on the town. In addition, not just looking at from getting it to a current state for code compliance, but also any improvements you want to make to the building for whatever program is being proposed in there. So all that to say that the prior studies didn't really come out with any clear preferred option. So moving on to the next slide. So, building off of where the long-term building committee left off, I wanted to start there because, again, similar to what I've done, they worked off the past studies that have been done and the feedback that's kind of been solicited to date. And really in conversations with the board, there seemed to be support with the current path that was being proposed by the long-term committee, in the sense that potential uses could support expansion of senior services there, the recreation department, the potential for the school administration, and then currently the after-school program is there. So the possibility of continuing to have that there, as well as potential community spaces, if it's compatible with the town's programmatic uses of the space. I'll also note the board, felt that a phased approach would be more practical based on cost limitations, based on timing and goals for the town. And with that, just the next slide. So talking a little bit about the barriers and the things that the board really needs to think about going forward. So the first is, and I'm going to go off a little bit off the slide out of order here, but when it comes to, and I believe, Sean, you had mentioned it, at a prior meeting, you want to hear from the insurance agent, you want to hear from the code compliance person, and then you want to hear from the attorney. So I talked to all three of those. So For insurance, they are fine with any of the proposed uses that we've been talking about here collectively. Their big concern is whether or not the building is vacant. The fact that there is life in the building, there's activity going on, it's continued to get used by the school department and the after-school program is fine. So there wouldn't be any change. And I did propose a couple of those other potential options as well. The second is just with code compliance. So this is something that's going to be ongoing. So, depending on obviously what ultimately occurs in the building, it's going to determine whether or not that's going to trigger an upgrade. And so if it doesn't trigger an upgrade, the state building code, it evaluates newly constructed facilities versus existing facilities. So, if there is a safety issue that's determined through that code compliance process, we would work through the building commissioner and the code compliance agent to identify that and make sure that it's addressed. So that's something that I think as we go on, that's going to be an ongoing discussion to make sure that what we're doing, of course, is safe for people occupying the building. The last one is something that's going to require a little more due diligence on behalf of the town. So I did seek a recommendation from town council, and he did provide an opinion that this does require town meeting action. While the building is under the control of the select board, it's not under the control of the select board for general municipal uses. So that is something that we will have to go back, again, should the board, proceed and want to go down this path, the board would need to vote that the property is no longer needed for its prior use, place a warrant on town meeting, and then that would have to get a 2/3 vote at town meeting. So I think that's one of the things that we can talk about. The other items that are up on the screen, again, depending on whatever the programmatic use is for the building, it's things that are considerations. So, with the new facility, with multiple entries, with multiple different programs in there, how is that operation going to work? What are the security considerations? If there are school-aged children there, especially right now with the after-school program, that's controlled access. So, that's something that I think requires further discussion and understanding, and really just an overall programmatic review to say, hey, is this going to be compatible based off of what we anticipate the use to be? So that's just something to keep in mind. So if you also want to move on to the next slide. So, just as some next steps, again, I think just in talking with the board, there's, it's a big facility, it's a significant asset to the town, and really, I'll say that there's a lot of nuance to the conversation. So me talking to each of you, I really tried to whittle it down to, some clear, goals. So the first is, just working off of what the long-term building committee had put together, really just reaffirming or confirming that we want to proceed with the current idea, which is the public and municipal use for those programs that I previously mentioned. A second recommendation, if that's the path that the board would like to continue on, working with town council to prepare an article for town meeting for consideration. Third would be, again, even in the short term, we would need a MOU with the school department. I know right now they're occupying the facility, but as we go on, if this is something where there's going to be different types of programs going on, an MOU will help to make sure that there's synergy with the activity going on over there. The fourth, again, this has been ongoing, but continue to work with our co-consultant to evaluate ways for senior programming within the building in the near term. And lastly, and really just, I would say an all-encompassing last step is, working, as I mentioned, with Brewster Thornton, what was the next step so that we weren't going backwards, that we could build off the conversations and the time and the investment that the town's done to date. And so, we know enough about the buildings. I think one of the things that hasn't really been touched on as of yet that we would need to do before we could even get into design is really looking at the programmatic uses of the space by the various departments that we're considering. So, again, how much square footage, what type of, office space, activity space, connectivity between the various spaces. I think, storage needs, I could go on, but essentially, that conversation would need to take place, as we continue on and look into investing, if, again, this is the, first priority of the board. The other thing, that we learned from, this recent planning effort was, it is a big building, and at least when it comes to the municipal use of it, there's excess space that the town, it doesn't appear from what has been done to date, the town has a need for. And so, when the town thinks about long-term operating costs, I think one of the goals would be to try and right-size government to our assets and what we're expending. And so I think, there is an opportunity to, and I think we talked about a prior meeting, looking at our facilities master planning, looking at our footprint across town and saying, hey, what is compatible based off the findings to date, and what are other things we might want to retool or get some additional information on. So, that's captured within the proposal before you. But, again, I realize that there's a lot of nuance to this. I realize this has been studied over the course of many years with many views. So I appreciate the board providing me the opportunity to kind of synthesize it. And, with that, open to questions and feedback.
So I just, you didn't have it on the slide here, but I wonder if you can talk a little bit about the master plan proposal. So this was a $29,000 effort. It's not a big proposal here. Can you just talk about what we would get out of that?
Absolutely.
As a next, because this was the recommended next step, right?
Yeah.
So I do want to just back up. We have a pretty detailed letter from BTGA that showed their summary of all of, they showed, I don't know if anybody wants a copy, Chris will get it to you. But it had a summary of all of those studies that have been done to date. It kind of gave an overview. It kind of did a nice job of rounding it up. And then they put together this is what we think the next part is. So can you just talk a little bit about what that next part would be?
Yes, so as you mentioned, within your packet, you have a proposal from them, building off of, again, their evaluation. So the proposed scope would include a updated code analysis. I know we have someone right now that's looking at a part of the building, but we would need, again, unfortunately, because of the time lapse, we would need an updated code analysis for the full structure. It would talk about space needs, so it would actually look at the programmatic function of each of the departments that we're talking about here, for senior services, recreation, school admin, and other compatible municipal uses. It would evaluate options to improve space utilization here at the town hall property, again, for some of the functions that were taken out of the scope of the old high school property through those ongoing efforts. It would develop preliminary designs and space options. And then the other two things that I think would be very helpful are phase implementation strategies, with the goal of minimizing disruption, and obviously looking at the funding availability piece of it. And lastly, cost estimates to that. So, I think to date, it's really been discussed as a all or nothing upfront project cost, but again, depending on the board's priorities, this may be something that we could phase over time and leverage outside funds. So it's not, going and, requesting a borrowing for the full project. So that's what they would be looking at.
So then the possible actions that we could take tonight, so one, you're looking for whether we're reaffirming the priority, the directional approach we want to take is for public and municipal use. So this would be not the housing approach that we've talked about before. And then whether we want to move forward with a potential town meeting article, and then whether we want to engage this and an MOU for the school department, and then whether we want to engage the plan, right?
Yes, and I'll just, one note about, I guess, the housing piece of it is, just based on the feedback that I received, and looking at the evaluations that have been done to date, considering housing, it's, the priorities appears to be municipal use first. And if we can't get there, or, if that ultimately does not happen or doesn't get the support or town meeting, then we would consider housing for the site. But the primary goal seems to have been, how can we utilize it for what the town needs are? So yeah, but your summary about next steps is.
All right, thank you. The board? Go ahead. Sometimes you wait for other people first.
Do you want to go?
I'm going to be a while, so I don't know if you want to go first.
Let me go first, then you go. So, Chris, I don't think any of those, first off, the fact that we're at this point is a great testament to the work that you've been able to do, since reaching out to all of us and kind of getting everyone's opinion. The public wants to see something done with this building. I would say the majority of people want something done. I think it needs to be. It is a asset to the town, as I've stated, and I think the only thing I do have an issue with your last point, I don't think mutually exclusive that you're talking about phased approaches, but I also think there's a phased approach that could have a small component in there for housing or something along those lines in the future. But I think
it doesn't close the door.
Correct.
Yes.
But I don't want to just close the door, but I also want everyone to understand that I think it needs to be a part of the town. And I think, in my opinion, I think the vote tonight should be the select board will or someone should make a motion to keep the building under select board control and use it for essentially town purposes. Get that on the table so that from a messaging standpoint, the public understands this building's not going anywhere. Nobody's going to knock it down. It's not going to get demolished. In that way, they know they have buy-in from the select board to continue to move forward with this. The point you had up there with senior services and senior programming going to there, you don't believe that would necessarily need a town warrant at town meeting next year. We could probably, based on the code analysis, do that prior to a town meeting?
So, unfortunately not. That is something, again, I kind of laid out the work that's been done to date. Unfortunately, that is council's opinion based off of the proposed activity that's there or being proposed for there.
So that's council's opinion that, because I just read your bullet point that says continue code review for possible near-term senior programming, so.
Yeah, so I think, so I guess, and I apologize for the near-term description.
Okay.
So I think, going down the path that we're currently going down with regards to code review, we'll get that assessment back. There would be improvements that would be made to the building. And obviously that can work concurrently with what we need to do should, again, this move forward, we go to town meeting and get those approvals. So that, again, once that authorization's in place, theoretically, the activities we could have
I do.
earlier than, I guess, the full, full
We
redevelopment.
can call a special town meeting, so we don't
Okay.
have to wait until May
Yeah.
to call a special town meeting. There's rules about how much notice you have to give and stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean it would have to wait till May.
And I appreciate that, Madam Chair, because I think we can't let another year go by. I think there needs to be, we've studied this to death. This is a great document. You were able to work with, obviously, consulting firm that you knew before that was able to aggregate everything and kind of come to a great document that basically tells us what a lot of people in this room want. A facility that can have the rec department and they have council of aging and they have all the school facilities that are currently in there. So I think this is great because this is what we need to get to, and it also doesn't have a $70 million price tag on it. But I just think that there may be other ways before, or if we do a special town meeting, maybe in the fall, if that's the direction we want to go in, but
Well, I think sorry.
Yep.
But I think the other thing is, if we were going to expend money on any kind of repair to the building, that would also need a town meeting vote, right? So that would be, I think you're looking at more than one thing on the town meeting vote, because any kind of spending money that, because this particular proposal, we can fund in already existing funds that we have for this purpose, but any kind of repair or something like that, we would have to fund.
So just that, I know Friends of the Council of Aging and the Council of Aging has come forward and said that they do have funding available, like $300,000 or $400,000. So maybe that would be a situation where we could start that process. If it was within, again, we don't know numbers.
Yeah.
Is it 10 million? Is it $500,000? Is it, but there is funding there that maybe would be useful. I'm still hesitant with council, but I didn't go to law school, so I guess not. Go for it.
So I've spent well over 100 hours since the last select board meeting on this project. Fortunately, I had the time to do it this month, and I'm not exaggerating, well over 100 hours. I've looked at every piece of paperwork I can find in regards to that building. I've looked at any piece of paperwork I can find in regards to all the other municipal buildings. I've talked to every stakeholder I can find, and I thank all the stakeholders for interviewing with me and working with me on this. I interviewed a large portion of the previous long-term building committee members. I also did a lot of research on mass fire laws, mass fire code, the International Building Code, and the Massachusetts addendums to the International Building Code, and have talked to the consultants working with the Council on Aging. And for the Council on Aging piece, I'm hoping that the consultants' report has a viable ability for the Council on Aging to use the space that we've discussed with them for no money other than the cost of several fire doors, which to me is like a great thing. That building is in a warm status. It's not in a cold status. Like, if you put something in storage, cold status, you shut everything down, you got to bring it back up. Warm status means everything's inspected, everything is maintained. To an extent, there's two furnaces there. One furnace is down for maintenance. You only need one for it to operate. One of the water holding tanks is just in a cold status. A couple of the water pumps need some stuff, like little things here and there. But overall, it's a great building. And I think full use requiring major investment is not an accurate statement. And I think I've done my due diligence to back up that statement. I think governments get addicted to studies, and I think the master plan proposal will not provide much information for the value of it that we don't already have available to us. I feel the phased approach is the best option to fill that building. I feel that an organic infill would be the best method. So phasing what needs are required for there, whether it's the Council on Aging, the school department, the town hall annex, organically find space with discussion of stakeholders in the town to fill it. Fill the outside portions of that building first, work our ways towards the center, find out how much excess space is in that center, and then we can use that excess space to figure out further plans, whether it's housing, whether it's a sublet to a not-for-profit, whether it's an expansion of services within the town. But that number will be determined organically, because right now, many of the functions within the town, we cannot use an adequate estimate of their square footage requirements because their square footage is so constrained. Because many functions in this town have no ability to grow based on the current building situation. Furthermore, if we start filling the old high school, we start talking about opening up buildings within the town that need maintenance, need love, and we have potential divestment decisions there and cost savings elsewhere that were not addressed in the long-term building committee's proposals that would make that old high school a more financially viable option for the town in many ways. I can speak on and on about it, but that's kind of just my points that
I
I've
have
taken.
a question for you. So so what we're trying to do here is hire the expert, or what this is proposing to do is to hire the expertise to put the phase plan in place, right? If we don't hire the expertise to put this phased plan, who would do it?
So I picture, it's like anything else. You provide an input to the system, which is the master plan proposal, whoever we hire for that. They provide an output for our input. But I think that the inputs that we put in are common sense enough inputs that we don't need to spend $30,000 for somebody to say, hey, when you walk in the door on the right, where they used to have the school admin area, there's a window there, that's a perfect spot for their clerk. There's back office area, that's a perfect spot to feed in the workers for the clerk area. Hey, we have an assembly area over here, it makes sense to have some sort of assembly function in the town. Okay, the VSO in the town probably works heavily with the seniors, let's move her office next to where the senior services are. School admin should probably move back to where school admin used to be. And all those are functions that happen on the perimeter of that building, so you can inflow that organically.
I like your idea. I think it's great. My question, though, is if we don't hire the expertise to do that planning, we don't have anyone else available to do that work.
I think.
So I think maybe what I'm hearing is that maybe a volunteer committee or something.
Yeah, I think a
do it.
committee might be the answer there.
But I think it's, we do not have a town engineer. We do not have a dedicated project manager. Chris does a lot of work, but he's got more than this on his plate, right? And so I worry a lot about if we haven't hired someone, it doesn't have to be this particular group, but if we haven't hired someone specifically to manage that project, I think we're going to get mired down.
My concern is that if the significant amount of work isn't provided to give the correct inputs to a firm to give us the outputs off a master plan proposal, we're not going to get a master plan proposal we are happy with, and any value we spend for providing substantial inputs will give us the answers that that proposal would provide.
Just, I guess, just one comment. You know, I appreciate, you know, the input on that. I've done a couple master plan studies, and, you know, I think one of the things that I've always found was a takeaway from it is when the department and the professional staff can engage with people and they can get asked questions and you can pull answers or pull things that maybe wouldn't otherwise come up as part of the discussion to advance what it is that they really need, right? What they really need out of the space, or what maybe they're not necessarily considering from the space. And so I find, at least at those levels, when they can have that discussion, you're ending up with a better product from the user group standpoint. But what I would say is with a master plan, you know, it's not necessarily that they're going to go and, all right, here it is, and go figure out and come back to us with a proposal. You know, it's an engaging process with the stakeholders, the board being one of them. And so, you know, certainly what is before you here this evening, if it's that, you want to make sure that they're understanding in scope and how they're going about that, again, you're getting good work product, a deliverable. That might be something, or I expect it would be done as part of that scope of work anyways. But I think, you know, I'm always of the opinion, I don't want to do a report or a study that I'm not going to get value out of. So, you know, if that is the feeling, again, if that's something that the board wants to continue or, you know, entertain or continue to talk about, well, what in the scope, what would we want to modify, need to modify to again, have it be something that is a value added, so.
Chris, I don't see in here the proposed timeframe. Do you know if there's a, like, for the work that, I mean, $30,000 is not that much from a work product, but did they talk a lot about a timeframe?
So they didn't give me the full duration of how long this would take. However, they did say that they would be available immediately if it was something the board wanted to move ahead with. I'm happy to follow up with them for a timeframe if this is something that the board would like. I guess my background on this, doing prior studies, is the process is usually 3 to 6 months total. From the time that they come in, again, it also is, they'll cater it to whatever if there's a set deadline the board wants to make, they can expedite it, they could do longer conversations, they can have, user groups together versus individually one-on-one. So, there's flexibility there, just, again, working on prior studies like this, but.
I think again, removing the cost component, I think we're going to have another issue with getting bogged down with studies. When if you form a committee, you can interview all the stakeholders in the course of a week or 2 weeks. You get a big Mylar of the blueprint of the building, and you get all the stakeholders in there, and you get Sharpies, and you start going through and figure out who wants what parts of the blueprint, and you go through and you can figure it out like that. Boom, just go fast and go hard on it, and you can knock out a lot of the stuff that we'd be trying to pay money to get done over the course of 6 months.
We had a committee, they didn't do it.
But clearly they didn't. I mean,
Yeah, but
I'm not saying it's not a good idea. If it's a private sector, I'd say, yes, you're 100% right.
But Madam Chair, I think you mentioned maybe another committee, but that committee could be such that is so vested in that, whether it be 2 select board members, you have the rec department, you have the school committee with the superintendent, maybe Chris with COA. Right there, I think that's right off the bat, departments that probably would use that. I mean,
and you could form the committee to say, hey, it has to be dissolved within a month, or has to be dissolved within 6 weeks, or 2 months.
I mean, I'm of the mindset, not to step on your toes, Rick, of the mindset of we should be having an update on this facility in this every week or every meeting, so twice a month, as to where we're going and where it needs to go. I don't want it to fall flat after tonight and just wait for another 3 months or 6 months for another study to come out. I think I want the public to know that we're keeping the building. We're going to move forward and find the best way to get departments in there or use it to the best of their ability.
To piggyback on what Jake is saying, in all my research, and I can go into as much depth if anyone has any questions on it, I don't think it is a good financial decision for this town to divest that property. I also think if we divest that property, it's going to open up a massive can of worms in regards to other uses for that property and expenses that we're going to have to foot in order to cover those uses.
So just to be clear, I know I have been vocal about wanting to sell the property. That is no longer my position.
Okay.
All right? So I am 100% for affirming that the public and municipal use is our direction. I am 100% for affirming getting whatever the legal tells us we have to do to use the building if we have a town meeting vote. 100% for the developing a memorandum of understanding with the school department, 100% for putting a phased approach together. So my concern right now is if we don't hire someone with the expertise to put that phased plan together, then I worry that it will not be done adequately to give the voters enough information on future town meetings to be able to appropriate money for it. And so what I liked about this particular proposal is that it actually comes up with the phases and starts with phase 1 and gives you a place to go for. I think we do not have the expertise. We have some amazing expertise here, right? Some of the people on that long-term building committee did heroic efforts and something happened, right? And it didn't end up great. So I worry a lot about forming another committee because the last one didn't work out so great. Maybe we charge it differently. You charge it better. You more crisp and clear about requirements to be on the committee. So maybe there is a way. I do think you need a committee to work on this, right? I do think that you need the committee. I just am very concerned. I think we should approve moving forward with that master plan proposal and start right now. And I think we should have it on every subsequent meeting from now. I think the next meeting should be forming that committee and who it's comprised of, reaching out to the different boards and see whoever if we think we need someone from the planning board, let's reach out to the planning board and tell them we're talking about it. So I am absolutely for moving forward. My concern is doing it without a professional who knows how to do this. Now, if that's my concern.
Sorry.
I haven't had a lot.
You may, go ahead.
Okay. 2 things. One, I support the idea of using this as a multi-use municipal facility. That there are some deficits in our existing facilities. I think the annex is not suited for the 21st century in terms of programming and places and offices. I also think that we need to, the fact that we have had the school administration building there in the past and some other functions that could be put back in the facility. I'm also supportive of expanded senior programming being part of it, because the demographics of this town are going to be older and not younger, in 10 years from now. I'm disappointed that we haven't spent enough issues on seeing this building as well as the grounds as an opportunity for affordable housing. And I think that's a filter. As chair of the Affordable Housing Trust, it's our concern that housing wasn't adequately considered during their time developing the project. It has continually been not considered to be within the realm of possibility. Yet in addition to that large building, you have lots of land on that building, around that building. And it can be used for more than just athletic fields. And it would be easier to put into use than some of the other municipal property that we own, such as the old campground. That's my 2 cents on this one.
Madam Chair. We have to remind ourselves of a couple of things. We had a firm called UTIL, who did, I think, some very good work 5 or 6 years ago. For whatever reason, a lot of people disparaged them and thought that it was too expensive or they weren't being realistic. When I look back on that, I would say it's worth a second look, because they did start with the assumption that it was a fool's errand to try to keep the whole building, unless you want to spend some money, some real money. RBG did put a value on that. That's the $70 million that Jake was referring to earlier. But RGB also did some good work for us in terms of outlining several uses. And if you recall from the presentations, there was so-called adaptive reuse and community campus. But the one I think we should focus on is what they call the 1970s addition, where you would keep that part of the building, that's the south part of the building, which has the recreation facilities, the gym, and work from that as our focus, and accommodate all of the needs of, say, the Council on Aging in the school, or the after-school daycare, or the recreation department. And I think it's big enough, and RGB looked at that and said, you can even put some pictures together that are quite attractive. But their recommendation was to get rid of the rest of the building. And in my opinion, we should do that. We should not try to keep the whole building. I think it'll cost us too much money, and it will never pass muster at the ballot. But we should keep alive the idea of housing. Now, you notice I didn't say affordable housing or senior housing. I'm just saying housing, because I don't know what the economics of that is. I don't know what works and what doesn't. But I think that that's one of the biggest needs of this town. We've talked about that again and again. Chris, you mentioned here that housing reuse has been studied. Well, I don't remember who studied it. It certainly wasn't the long-term building committee, and that was one of the criticisms we had of that. And I think we should continue to have that discussion. Now, I say that knowing that we might not get anywhere. It could be that for economic, financial reasons, or reasons because it doesn't have sewer or the city water, it may not be feasible. From an engineering standpoint, it may not be feasible, and if that happens, that's the way it goes. If we, going back to the building part, I see the need for a debt exclusion, and the number there is 25 million. No, it's not 70, it's not 40, but it is real money. But I like the idea of the people voting on that. If the people want that building, if we're believing all of what we're hearing, then let it go to the ballot. If the voters say yay, then let's do that. That is the least expensive recommendation of the consultants, the two that we've had, and I haven't seen anything yet from the new one, DG, whatever it is, that goes against that. Now, lastly, but importantly, is the time frame. I talked about this at the last meeting. We can't be doing this for another few years. And we should work backwards from the date of April, whatever it is, for the town elections. And we should want to, if we're going to do a debt exclusion, and I hope we don't have to, or I hope we have other funding, or I hope a debt exclusion is far less than $25 million, because obviously the lower the debt exclusion request, the higher the probability of passage. And I think this has enough appeal that it could pass. We do occasionally pass debt exclusions. Overrides are a different story. But anyway, working backwards from that, we would have the vote on that in April, so that's the end. After that, then somebody else will have to decide what they're going to do with the building. And I don't like the idea of selling the property. Property's hard to come by. I was a strong component and supporter of the campground acquisition and spoke at that town meeting, amongst others, because land is precious and it's hard to come by, and this is land we already have. We don't want to give it up. So I would focus on that. Oh, and by the way, to finish that thought, preliminary to that, we would have a special town meeting. So that would have, because we're not going to wait till May, because then we wouldn't miss the ballot date until 28. That's too long. So we would have a special town meeting. I would suggest that be in the fourth quarter, say after Thanksgiving or something. And that, we have to work toward those dates, and we should keep the dates in mind, because that'll drive us. So in conclusion, I think we should continue to study the senior housing or the housing component to see if it's viable. If not, it's not. But I think that would have appeal among the voters. I'm recommending that because I know that a lot of people in this town feel strongly about housing. So I don't want to leave that off the table. And I was impressed with the presentation made by Jim Whiten when he talked to this issue and said he has people that he knows who will tell us whether it's feasible, how much it will cost, how much the town will have to pay. Because there are people who've told me that if you do it right, you get somebody else to pay for that component. I'm talking about the housing component. So I suggest we focus on those two areas. I think they have the most potential. I think they're doable. And I think that there is a possibility that a well-constructed plan using the newest part of the high school is the most practical and could actually pass a debt exclusion muster. And then that would be the future. So that's what I'd say, that's my 2 cents to this.
So Dick, how would you propose that we get, how would you propose the steps? What are the steps that get us to, a December town meeting with a debt exclusion? Like, who puts that plan together, or how do you go about putting that together in the next few months?
Okay. Well, I'd first I would talk to the new consultant, but I'd also talk to RGB about this, particularly about the viability of using the 1970s edition, and can that accommodate what we're looking for. I don't think that would be a hard discussion. I think it's very obvious to me that could work. I think there's 35,000 square feet. And then we check with our new consultant and say, does that meet your approval? Maybe I shouldn't say approval. Is that your recommendation? Is that doable? And then begin talking about that, because then we're sending a signal to the town. We're not giving up on the property. We want to use it. We want to put some functions in there that are important to the town. So that's how I would start that piece. The next part of it, the housing piece, I would call Jim Whiten and say, Jim, do what you said you could do for us when you came and presented to us. Talk to the people, or direct us to the people, the experts who are in this business, to tell us about the feasibility of housing, and do that immediately.
So, but are you proposing in there the hiring the BTGA master plan and giving them that direction? Like you were talking about the new consultants, but I didn't hear, do you think we need new consultants? Like who do you, it's one thing to say, okay, Jim, put together your RFP, right? That Craig and Jim had talked to us before. But who's doing the work to define, what that 70s edition is? So I think I might have heard you say that you're hiring someone to do that as part of the phase, but maybe I'm not understanding.
Well, I did just fully understand the question you're asking.
I'm trying to understand who's doing the work to put that together to get you to December for a town meeting.
Well, we would have to decide if we want to hire this consultant. Did they do that? And is that what we need? And they might be the ones to move this forward. The other
So
thing,
potentially hiring a consultant to do that.
well, yeah, I mean, you've gotten a proposal from them. They could have these issues on behalf of all of us, not just what I'm recommending, to see what the feasibilities are and what the costs are. And to look at what work has been done and to say how that would be employed. In the end, it's us, and, yeah, we could have a committee. I don't know if that really is needed here. I think the housing discussion, or the housing investigation, if you want to put it that way, or feasibility, that is in the hands of somebody else. We've got to get somebody in that business to do that for us. So that part is easy.
Yeah.
Can I,
No, just Craig goes first.
I would also note that the Affordable Housing Trust has been over time accumulating funding that could be used for development of affordable housing, and that would include pre-development costs, feasibility studies and things of that nature.
So a couple points. In one of our many documents and studies, the sports fields cannot be converted to anything while retaining the building. The building must be demolished to put any development on the sports fields. That has to do with the water and septic for the building, as well as a couple other things. There's been numbers put out showing that it's not financially viable to put single-family or multifamily occupancy on the sports fields or the former building. For the cost of developing the building for a housing component, it works out in 2023 numbers, I believe, to $12 a square foot more than doing a housing conversion in any other building that's a smaller size, because the size of the building is a liability. The $20 million number, the $35 million number, all those numbers are all predicated on the assumption that we either demolish 30% of the building or that our costs to move in were 30% of the assessed replacement value of the building, which was $5.1 million in 2023. So if you move in at a renovation cost of under $5.1 million, you do not have to bring that building up to code. You only have to bring the sections of the building that are at a higher risk activity than the current use up to current code, or you have to, if it's a lower risk activity, you're fine. There's certain spots you might have to put fire sprinklers in or firewalls in. But a lot of the places, because the way that building was constructed, have fire barriers in place, it's possible to move in at almost zero cost to the taxpayer. I say almost because that's not really the case. Like, you do have to do work on stuff. I think that hits all those items. But yeah, I don't think the $20 million is accurate if we stay below $5.1 million of moving cost renovations.
May I respond? Where is this information coming from?
The 2021 International Building Code, the Massachusetts amendments, and all the paperwork from all the long-term building committee.
But doesn't somebody have to, if I may,
Yeah.
have to look at that, like our consultant, and say, yay, that's right?
I've been talking to the consultant that's been working with the Council on Aging, and I'm hoping the report comes back for them in regards to the cafeteria and kitchen area, showing that the only cost is going to be updating a couple fire doors. I'm assuming the auditorium is going to be a similar situation, same thing with the gym. For other sections of the building, you're talking about moving from an E educational space to a B space, which is a less risk area, but also significantly less amount of people that are allowed in there. And those areas potentially are zero cost to the town to move into, assuming that the fire doors are in the right spot. I had one more other point too, and I forgot, so bear with me. But, the other thing too is, as far as the housing component goes, if we fill the sides and have the center empty and we say, okay, let's put housing in there at a future use because we have this much empty space left, you can always build fire barriers in there, and now it's treated as I can't remember if it's structure or building. Basically, even though it's one contiguous space, it's a separate building of its own in there. And at that point, you could renovate the inside of it and say, okay, when the town moved in and we had 60,000 square feet of extra space, we could fit in X number of housing units here. Let's put an entrance in the back. It's completely segregated from the rest of the town's uses. Here's the housing component answer after everything else has been figured out.
Madam Chair, just, I don't want, I'm not saying I need to be the last word on this, but I'm hearing a lot of agreement here. We're talking about how to get the thing done that we want to get done. If it can be done for less than $25 million, I'll sign up for that in a minute.
I make a motion that we commit to retain the building and move in as many municipal uses and other uses within the town as makes sense and we see fit.
Second.
Madam Chair, discussion?
Yeah, go ahead.
When you say the building, Rick, you talking about the entire building?
I'm talking about the entire building. I believe that it's going to be more expensive, long-term and short-term, to demolish any portions of the building than to retain the whole building and understand that there's excess square footage that either be left in warm state or cold state.
Okay. I would be opposed to that motion because I think that's contrary to what I'm proposing.
So when you talk about the 1970s edition, are you talking about both the gym area and the auditorium area, or are you just talking about the gym area?
It's not the auditorium. It's shown on these presentations that RGB put together, and it's clearly the south portion of the building, I'll say the south third of the building. So the auditorium is gone.
Not the auditorium and not the central part of the building, but the.
That's gone too.
Okay, got it. Any more discussion on the motion from the board? Then we'll take some public input.
So a problem I see with demolishing the center of the building is all of the utilities and other items are on the right side of the building. So to take out the center means that you have to basically build everything from scratch on the left side again, which is a big cost. And then once you hit the trigger of 30% of the assessed value, you run into the issue of having to bring the whole building up to code. And at that point, it doesn't make sense financially, and that's when you hit the $20 million number. So it's cheaper just to have classrooms that you lock the door on and leave in a cold status until you need them, or find a tenant for, than it is to tear it down.
Well, Madam Chair, let me just opine on that. RGB gave us the answer to that question, including the demolition of the two-thirds of the building. It's $25 million. That's in the cost.
It was in the RGB.
That's right.
proposal. So the motion that we're discussing at the moment is it was affirming that it was the use of the building for municipal use.
Keep the entirety of the building, keep the entirety of the property.
Affirm for municipal use. So we're not discussing anything about the contract. Right now, there's nothing in there about the proposal or the MOU or the town meeting or anything. This is just basically that bullet one. That bullet one. All right.
Yeah.
All right, anything else from the board before I open this up to the public? Okay, anybody from the public want to comment on that specific thing? That's point one about reaffirming the public municipal use in the near term.
I just have a question. When you say municipal use, can you rent out part of the building?
Yes, that
You
would
would
part
be
of it.
willing to rent out to private? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Deborah Chialfi. I serve on the Westport Historical Commission. I'm also Betty Slate's vice chair at the CPC. I've spoken to a lot of folks, both in this room and in the audience, about this project. And from my perspective, I think housing is an important component to this reuse of this building. I agree tremendously with many of the things Rick has been talking about tonight. But one of the overarching things that I think the select board needs to consider, obviously, is the cost. The more you can lay off the cost to others that might be interested in using portions of this building, you'll start to bring the cost down. So the town will only have to afford the things that the town will use. So I think if you look at this building in chunks that are able to be reused over time and phased, as Rick is talking about, you can warehouse the center of the building with firewalls. And you can explore housing at a later date when you know what the rest of it looks like. The auditorium, from what I understand from Jean Defoe, who's here tonight, the auditorium is a very special building and can't be compared to the auditorium that was built for the middle high school. If that auditorium could be saved, which I'd love to know what the code requirements are for that, it's assembly use, very different than the other uses, that may be a very good asset for the community without a lot of investment. The left side of the building, if you're looking at it from the main road, is the gym. It's the newest part of the building. And I agree with many of the things that Dick is saying about that part being what you start with. If you look at this in chunks and you keep the fields intact, because you have to have those fields, then this town could lease out portions of the building for the different uses and keep those that it wants for itself, for its own uses. I think you have to look at this as an overarching, complete building in its different chunks. You can't look at it all at once. I think a lot of the studies that were done in the past looked at all or none uses, especially around housing. And I don't think they looked at it as, you know, what number of housing could be used. You back into the number. I spoke to another expert in this field, David Ennis, who I think has met with some of the people in this board. David looked at this building, toured the building. His attitude was, you look at what can be done within the building envelope and with the septic and water uses that you have available to you. You back into the number. You don't say, oh, let's look at this whole building and put housing in all of it. You have to approach it in a practical way. And I think if you get the right people looking at this, you will figure out what the best uses are at the lowest possible cost. That's my opinion. I'm not an expert, but it's just everything that I've heard from different people, and I think you should reconsider how you look at the reuse of the building. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see this all the time, planning millions of dollars and stuff like that. But you guys have assets here. You have a lot of intelligent people in this town that are retired. They're engineers, they're electricians, they're plumbers. I meet them all the time. From very good schools and stuff. And you have assets in the town. You do have electrician, a building inspector, and a town engineer, correct? Am I wrong?
We do not have a town engineer.
Okay, well, that can be, I'm sure that our retirees would step forward for a town project such as that if they have that much passion. As far as low-income homes, I'm sorry, people, but I'm totally against it. You look at the studies and stuff, low income comes in, it was meant for elderly. I'm fine with elderly, but what happens is it comes in, they can't fill it with elderly. So what happens? They bring low income housing, you hire more police, you have to hire more fire, and you have more crime. It's a proven fact. Just when they built the Dartmouth facility, that whole high-rise, I talked to Dartmouth police. They had nothing but problems. What happens is a girl moves in, she has a child. Oh, but the dad is, I worked in corrections, the dad is in for armed robbery. He gets out, but he has drug relations. So he brings the drugs to that area.
So right now, all we're talking about
I'm just saying, I'm so against low-income housing in a town. You want low-income town, go to the city. And look at the city right now. Look at Los Angeles, look at Fall River, New Bedford. Look, that's all you see is crime. We don't want that.
I just want to say that our two affordable housing facilities that I'm aware of in town,
They're small.
We have Greenwood Terrace and we have Nokachoke Village. Neither one have a crime problem. Neither one have brought children in. Neither one of them have caused any kind of concern for the town of Westport.
Why don't you investigate and
Sorry.
law
Nokachoke
enforcement?
Village has 55 units.
What's that?
There are 55 units at
And it was built
Nokachoke Village.
less than 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's just 55 units. What about the what do you got, Rodden Street in Fall River, where they built that whole facility and they had.
So we're not talking
and
about
they had to tear it down.
Sir, thank you.
Fall River, sir.
Now, I'm just saying, you don't have to yell. You don't have to yell.
You're interrupting.
No, I'm
You're
sorry,
out
I
of
didn't see
line.
that.
You're out of line.
Yep, very good.
All right, go ahead.
I think I'm listening to Shauna's comments most importantly here, and I think it's well taken. Who's organizing this? Because I think this idea is a good idea. And quite frankly, I think housing is an important component. My original proposal included housing. I don't think housing should be the predominant. I'm just getting this feeling that when we started this process a long time ago, municipal buildings was the driving force for what we were going to do with the old high school. And it waylaid and moved us off the merry-go-round to another place where we couldn't get any direction. I don't want housing to do that. I think housing is important, and it needs to be part of this process. But it should be at the back, not the front. And it shouldn't be delaying what needs to be done now, which is getting in the building now. And I think how you do that, to me, is the question that Sean is asking. Who's going to organize this? And I don't know. It's a good question. whether we take Rick's point of view, which is I think we have the talent and the knowledge to get people, we could get council on aging there tomorrow if they said, okay. We don't need anybody to tell us what else to do. We'll move and we'll pay for it, okay? I think we could start that, personally, I think we could start that process. But as it moves forward, I think Sean is right. It's got to have somebody directing the traffic here. And I don't know who that is. I don't know which contractor it is. But I think the fear I have with that is we go back to where we always end up. We get a committee, they ask 50 questions, and then all we're doing is asking questions and nothing's getting done. If this group can give some direction to some group of people that says, I want these 5 places in there as fast as possible, you tell me how to do it. And I'll give you a time frame. And if you do it faster, I'll give you more money. If you do it longer, I'll give you less money. We need to move on this process here. Somehow we have to, if you, I think collectively can agree that we keep the building, that's a huge step going forward to the town. It means that we care about this town. And we're going to do whatever we can. And I think the more you talk and the more you move into housing, I find you going off into a detour, personally. That makes me anxious. I'm getting, hives listening to housing, because housing is long and complicated. And yes, it pays for itself. It's true. Why do it first? When you have needs that need to happen right now, Council on Aging, supporting the school system that needs that process. Why not just keep what we have? The town will appreciate that you've taken this seriously and tried to come up with a plan to do that. And I would say, find an organization that can make that happen fast. I don't know who it is. Maybe that's Chris's job to find out. But someone needs to come up with this. Or there are local people who could help organize this, volunteer, but you need a professional group of people that are going to answer to you at a time frame so that when you have meetings, you can have them sit in that chair and you can grill them, and we can too. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just wanted to first echo a couple of points that were so well made by Mr. Lima. But speaking as someone who was both on that long-term building committee and was on it for a few years, I understand the frustration and share the frustration. I've been on board with municipal use for the building from my start on that committee. And I also see the use of that building every day. I know that the school department uses of it, our facilities department, the recreational sports that use it outside of just the school department in all seasons. I know that also the needs of the Council on Aging, the recreation department, which I know has growing programs and does great work in town. So I support the motion that's on the table, that the board reaffirm the municipal use as a near-term direction. What I would caution, having been on that long-term building committee that studied this to death and looked at it for a few years, and I think a lot of valuable information was gleaned from that, as Mr. Brewer alluded to. But what I would caution is letting near-term disagreement halt progress on what could or could not be done in the future as part of a potential phased use. So I would caution that. I'm not saying that this board doesn't understand that, but that's something, having gone through this process of studies on the long-term building committee, that I think was an issue or one of the issues that stalled progress there. So I would just caution that, but I appreciate the board moving forward in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll try to make it brief. Jane Dufault, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that theater, that section of the school. I know the gym is extremely valuable. The fields, the schools are using, they're all using it. And the theater, what we have at the new school is not sufficient at all for productions. And if you've seen the production these kids are putting on, they're top notch. They need a theater, and that auditorium is beautiful. One of the teachers has gone through with somebody just to get an estimate. We would need new lighting, new sound, maybe $100,000. And there's other things that would have to be repaired, but we're willing, there's a group of us together willing to write grants, willing to get money so that this isn't coming from the town. Right now, we have a lot of outside groups that are coming in and using our stage. They're using it, sometimes Mr. Nunes is there 2-3 weekends out of a month because people are coming in and using it. So we know those groups are going to come in and use an auditorium and use it's almost twice the size of what we have, and the same thing with the size of the stage. So you would be bringing in revenue also. Just the Council on Aging, the kitchen, the cafeteria area can be used. The food pantry, it even talked about being able to use. So I would want, I agree with that whole phase program, and I would want that other section, the auditorium, the cafeteria, the kitchen. There's classrooms back there that were used for photography, TV production. They could even be, it could be an art center, community art center, where some of these rooms are rented out to artists. You can bring in money. So I think it's that part of the building also is extremely important. And I'm thrilled to see that we're finally getting to the point where we are keeping it, because it really is a valuable asset. So I applaud you for that, and I can't wait to see things happen. And again, there's a group of us that are really willing to work hard and make improvements and raise money and such to try to, maintain, especially that auditorium. Thank you.
All right, so the motion on the table right now is whether, oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't see you, you're kind of short.
I'm sorry. Stand up. Eileen Moncrief, and I'm on the Board of the Council on Aging as the chair. I don't know if I can add any more that's already been said tonight. We've really explored, I think, and heard a lot of different perspectives. I can only say that I think personally, and I think what we have heard, is that a phasing in approach makes sense. It's something that the Council on Aging, I think I've said before, we are ready, willing, and able to move very quickly. We don't have that much really to move initially. Boxes of weights and healthy balls and the like. But you've heard, and we've studied this ad nauseum. We know that there's many, many things that we could be using, and I agree. Housing is one of the points that was in our original recommendation for a community campus, and I think that's something we have to keep in mind. We're talking about this as being a community campus for everyone, for all parts of the town. So can I urge you also to call the question?
I was going to, and you stood up. I don't know. Does Eileen, is it okay if Dana says something? Go ahead.
Dana Stewart, Recreation Department. I love all the conversation here. I think it's really wonderful. I think something that I've spoken with Chris about a bit too is the programmatic purposes of the space of this building, and that it's not just going to be for you or for you or for you. It's going to be a shared space for a lot of different groups, a lot of different departments, and a lot of different people. So I'd just like to remind the select board that there needs to be some conversation about how that is organized. I totally respect what's on the table right now with the motion, but I just wanted to say that because I feel like there's a lot of eagerness with wanting to use the space, but there needs to be some real thought about the different programs, the different ways to use the space, who's using it right now, and what the purpose is, the time frame, all that kind of stuff, I think needs some thought. So that's just what I want to say.
Thank you. All right, so the motion on us right now is whether to reaffirm the public and municipal use as the near-term direction for the building. Does that adequately summarize the motion? I didn't write it down. Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye. Can I ask?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I
Go ahead.
wanted more clarification on just what we're voting on.
Yeah, did you write it down?
I
I wrote down keep the building for municipal use.
To reaffirm the public and municipal use as the near-term, what is that?
So the public and municipal would be the key, because municipal is limiting.
Yeah, public and municipal, keep the entirety of the building and the property.
Does that accurately reflect the intent of your motion and the second?
Yes.
You guys are okay with that? Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I early indicated I'd be opposed to this, but I don't hear any wording in this motion that gets into the issue of how much of the building you keep, how much you get rid of, or if you keep it all, if you can make that work. I mean, I'm not opposed to a solution which includes the whole building. I do think that's going to be expensive, and I'd be wary of that. But since the motion does not include any prohibitive language, one way or the other on that, it simply says the building, then I would vote for that.
Okay,
Just want to be clear on that.
thank you. Sorry, I rushed that. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that's unanimous. So I think the other bullets, I think that we can direct the town administrator to continue to work with council for a potential town meeting article as they described, because I don't think we need to really vote on that. I think we'll vote on that whether we have a town meeting or not. I don't think we need to vote on the work that's already in progress with the code review for the near-term programming. I think that's already underway, and I don't think we need to do anything with that. So I guess the question is whether the board tonight wants to direct the town administrator to start working with the school department on an MOU, and whether the board wants to approve going forward with that BTGA proposal or not. So I think those are the two things if we might want to address tonight.
Ask you one further question. Did council advise at all as far as recreation use for the Department of Recreation?
They did, yes.
So
So the proposed uses that we've been discussing.
So everything but school department use requires
School
town meeting?
use.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we develop an MOU with the school department to expand their use of the building. Maybe phrase that a little differently, but
So we, just for background, so we at one point did have an MOU with the school department, or at least we negotiated one. I don't know that we ever finalized it. But that contained, it wasn't just like expanding use. It was like who's paying for what and who has control over what. And there was probably some other stuff in there, but and if there's repairs, who's paying for it. So I think that if the motion would be to start negotiating an MOU with school department, I think that would be right.
yeah, I'll make a motion to start negotiating an MOU with the school department.
Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? I think we would start with the previous MOU, but I think that was also pretty complicated. I don't remember.
We'll try and, yeah.
Okay. And from my perspective, I wouldn't want to preclude any kind of phased approach if we'd want to, I don't know, to direct him to ask, or start the conversation, I guess. All right, any discussion on that, on the MOU?
I have a question.
Yeah. You have to go to, and it has to be specifically on whether we should direct the town
I
administrator.
believe it's
to-
about the MOU.
Okay.
And what I'm concerned about, and with history, when we start integrating the school with the rest of the town, we've already had this once. I would like very clearly on the record that we're going to have to negotiate sharing a building with children, okay, where we've had problems historically. We know they're well documented, but we couldn't go in the upstairs track. We paid for it, but we weren't allowed to use it, okay? And we had personal issues when we tried to go into the old high school when the after-school program was there. They didn't want any part of us having conversations and being in the building. So I would be
Part of the
remiss.
MOU would be how to cohabit the space.
Yes, I would be remiss if I didn't put it on the record that if we're going to share space in a community building, we're going to have to reconcile the notion of children with seniors and adults.
Yeah.
We have to reconcile that. And I don't know how, but it needs conversation, and it needs clarity, and it needs enforcement, because I think, quite frankly, the seniors have been short-sheeted on this concept. And if we're going forward now with this idea of a community, whether children are there or not, I mean, it's silly that we can't be in the same building with each other. Just silly in 2026 that we can't be in the same building. So I think somewhere in this MOU has to be reconciled, this issue.
Yeah, I don't think the town administrator highlighted this, but in the report that came back, that was absolutely one of the things that needed attention, was how to have a safe space for children while also allowing other uses. That was absolutely in the report we got.
And I don't know if that situation, if you work with the Council of Aging on that, in those discussions with the school department, because my concern is similar to David's, but I mean, a lot of the timing is probably not going to be the same anyway, right? I mean, the COA is going to probably be in there from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., and then most of the after-school care would come in at a different time. So I just want to make sure that those, lines aren't blurred as to who's using it at what times, similar to, as David pointed out, with the new school and not being able to use the track without a Corey check.
I think also that will come back to the board, so any concerns, those issues can be surfaced and be part of the discussion and the record for that.
I look at Codamonk at the annex. It's pretty simple. You just have a section of the building that's locked to access for adults.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I just want to say you have to consider the summer season as well, when children are out of school, and also seniors still want to maybe use the space during the day, as do the camps or children as well. Again, my point about figuring out the planning of a shared space. Also, if the old high school is not used as a school, I believe there might be different regulations or rules regarding that. If I liken it to a community center, like we've kind of discussed, where you might have senior programming and school programming, or you can have different ages in the same space. Again, just, putting thought into it and figuring it out with that shared space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Apologize, I realized I didn't introduce myself the first time. Evan Gendro, School Committee Chair. Could I ask a clarifying question? How does the discussion that just happened on the use of the building, how would that be worked into an MOU if we also need, absent a town meeting vote for transfer outside of school use? Or is that not the same issue?
I think a lot of the school uses are grandfathered under the use of that building.
But I think, but even the existing arrangement that we have, we don't have a clear, the town has care and control of the property, but you all have practical control of the property, right? But we don't have a memorandum of understanding of how that's going to work. So I do think that MOU might be a little complicated, because we don't know what's going to be a year from now, but I think we at least need to start surfacing the conversation. Because, you heard what they're saying. We got to figure out a way to get more groups in there, but we also need to affirm responsibilities for the building.
Thank you.
No, he's leaving.
Julie Jodwin Krozik. I just wanted to add that as you define these responsibilities, I really want you to think about students and adults with disabilities, and to think about access and who's going to pay to retrofit those spaces. Because I personally have worked in buildings that have been retrofitted, and very often the strategy is, let's keep our numbers down so we don't have to retrofit anything. But then the building and the programming isn't really accessible to all of the students, and it's not accessible to all of the adults. So if you can really think through who would be paying for that, I wouldn't want a student to be denied access to go into the building because it wasn't accessible, or an adult.
Okay, so the motion on the table is to direct the town administrator to work with the school department to develop an MOU for use of the building. And he's heard our multiple inputs here. I'm sure he'd be happy to take more inputs from us individually as he works that through. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
So we have 4 in favor and 1 opposed. So then the last item there is whether we want to move forward with the master plan proposal. I personally think we need to do that because I think we need to hire someone to create this phased approach. I think if we don't hire somebody to do it, it's going to get lost again. We have very talented people in this town. We have very eager people. We thought we could do this with the committee before, and it did not work, and I'm very wary of not hiring somebody to do it. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, you'll have my support on that if we put a kind of deadline on it. I'd prefer a shorter deadline than a 6 month. I mean, if you maybe if you speak to them and say, do we have a 3-month window?
6 months, I mean, it won't be 6 months.
Yeah. But I mean, I would think if 3 month is reasonable. I mean, it's summertime, maybe they're vacations or whatever. But I think if you had a 3-month window working with a group that we had discussed with COA, rec department, school committee, they'll obviously be interviewing those or working with people as to their needs. But I would like that window to be a lot shorter than.
So then maybe instead of like approving the proposal is going back to them with, so considering that the conversation that we've had today is that we want to pursue a phased approach to get in as many services as quickly as we can. We want to look at the, in sections of use, not all at once. That we want to get something done, I would say, so if we want to target a town meeting vote in December, then I'd say we'd need to have at least a first report by the beginning of September that we could then build on. So maybe see what they can put together from a proposal that gets us into like a September timeframe for the deliverables. And then I think also the, I had a thought about this. So the, basically, what would they take to get us to that proposal, though? It gets us to something that we could go to a winter town meeting.
Okay. And I suppose, this piece of it hasn't been talked about, but, let's say that, we go through this effort and we, again, have a phased approach. It comes before the board, general consensus on that approach. Would, in addition to, I suppose, calling a special town meeting for the transfer of the property, to your point that you were mentioning earlier, Dick, is, the next funding on this would be for potentially full design if there is things that need to be done based off of the recommendations. Should they be working towards that potential goal as well?
So I think, so I'm going to let everybody weigh in, but what I see as a potential town meeting in December is the use of the building that we just talked about, interim repairs that may be necessary, funding for interim repairs if there's some that are discovered during this other code review that we're doing, and then specific costing of to get to final design and an estimated approach. I don't know that we're gonna, I don't know if you can, if let's just say, for example, that they come up with, it's gonna cost you $200,000 to get to final design, and we think it'll be $25 million at the end. I don't know if you can go to town meeting for that $25 million right then, or if you have to get the final design first.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna, you won't have specifics for the voters, but you might have enough of a ballpark, you might have enough of a.
Yeah. So in terms of, especially when you go for the full borrowing, when you go through the full design process, you're going to have a ballpark, right?
Right.
But, this is a rough order of magnitude estimate, right? And as you go further into the design and they, we thought the wall was going to go here and it's really going to go there, or whatever the improvement is, then you're going to be able to go with a real number to town meeting and say, this is the cost. So I would say in terms of a funding goal, again, assuming you go through this process and we have design plans and the phased approach, it would probably be for design with the bigger phase, ask at a later date. That would be. my thought on
Yeah,
that.
because I worry a lot, I mean, I hear people talk about, right, so I worry a lot about another study that says we need another $100,000 to do the next piece, right? So, like, but that's also kind of the way it works, right? You have to get to your final design, because you're not gonna be able to go out to bid with whatever they're gonna come back with in September. I don't think. Maybe you can, but I don't think you're
Small
gonna be able to go
portion,
out to
if-
bid.
if it's
But
a
maybe,
small portion.
if you're.
The interim,
Because if we're doing
targeted
phases,
on a
right?
phase,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, so maybe that's right. So maybe you do get.
Phase
the
one, this
Phase
is where
one
we're
is
gonna-
this limited portion, and this is how much it's gonna cost. We project overall it'll be this, but phase one is gonna, so.
And once the public
Fair
sees
enough.
success, right, the voters see success with
Yeah.
small increments and see activity in that building.
So I think, do you have enough to go back and kind of negotiate with them or revise the proposal?
I do, yes. So I can absolutely follow up with them, the board's goal, the timeline, what you're looking for in terms of the short term, working off of the code compliance work that we're doing right now. If the board is comfortable with me, again, assuming that I can negotiate that, if the board's comfortable authorizing me to sign a proposal, with the understanding our next meeting isn't for a few weeks.
Madam Chair, just real quick, and I don't think, this probably doesn't need to be a motion, but I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think it needs to be a standing agenda item, this project. Obviously, with a 3-month window, it's basically, we'll hear about it 6 times. But I just clarify with their, with the consultants, that we'd probably want an update that would be provided to you, that would be provided to the board and the public at each of those meetings, was, short synopsis. Who'd you meet with? What was discussed? Did we get anywhere with, code compliance or actual uses of the building? I think, and then that'll obviously lead to the messaging that we would use for a town meeting. But I think that if it's a standing item, it can't be forgotten, and we can kind of address that each time. And hopefully they provide us with kind of their progress. I don't like to leave consultants on their own
No,
without
no,
having deliverables.
Yeah, that's something I could definitely add as a standing item if the,
But the part that Chris was just saying is that one of the options that we have is for him to negotiate a proposal and come back to us for approval. But another option we have is to authorize him to enter into an agreement not to exceed some amount, and then you could get started faster before our next meeting.
Oh, no.
I guess it's a matter of, do you want to authorize him to negotiate and not to exceed number, and he can go forward, or do you want him to come back with a revised proposal?
I'll make that motion. I don't know if anyone's going to say that. I'm going to make that motion, but I just wanted Chris to be clear when he speaks to
Right,
them
yeah.
what we're looking for, so that we're not just,
No, the elements you want him to negotiate, yes. All right, but
I make a
the-
motion to-
The motion's not to exceed
yeah.
$30,000?
What did you say it was?
I think the proposal was 29,500.
Yeah, $30,000, not to exceed, make a motion to allow Chris Vitale to enter into an agreement with the consultants not to exceed $30,000,
Does that hit a procurement threshold? Is there a
Um,
number that hits a procurement threshold?
30,000.
30,000, so maybe 29,900.
$29,999. And see how good your negotiating skills are to see if we can get a list.
I took off $1.
Okay, everybody understand that motion?
Second.
Any comment?
So my concern is like looking at the current proposal as written. The document review, building evaluation phase, it's all stuff provided from existing assessments and reports. So we're just going to get the same stuff back we've already gotten, but we're going to pay $5,000 for it and wait however long it takes. For the schematic design, I think the high school design options are good. It's good information. Town Hall edition. Again, I was looking 2 nights ago at what Swansea's done with their Town Hall edition, their Annex edition, as well as a library edition. And you can see, like, okay, a ballpark on a Town Hall edition is probably going to be $13 to $19 million. I mean, that's just Kentucky windage, but it gives you an idea. So I'm just saying that we're going to burn time and burn money to get answers we already have.
Well, I think part of what I would like to see in the proposal is a specific, like at the end, a specific phase 1 cost that we could present to town meeting in December.
Like, I agree, like, that we need to have an outside agency looking at this. I just don't know how to crack that nut. I don't know if getting like a project management firm in to handle this stuff is a better use of that money and a quicker use of the time aspect of it.
I think the finding a project management company to do this is going to take you longer than going with these folks, but,
Unless we're gonna get a cut from it, right? I mean, that's.
I mean,
money-wise.
Yeah.
For them at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other element of this too is that, this is intended to be a continuation of the discussions, right? And I think some of that is going to be, again, when you're talking about the phasing, right? And I think there's kind of the two elements here that are at least included in this proposal. Is the first thing is, what do we do about the high school? How do we phase that? What's the next step? How do we obviously get that occupied based off the needs? The other thing that I think is also a point that was brought up tonight is, a long-term facilities strategy for the things that have been taken off of the chopping block to date based off of the cost limitations. Now, obviously, that's going to get further vetted through this process, but at least then you can really go and say, hey, looking at all the options, looking at what, the needs are, now we, have a real phased approach and we can put dollars to it, so.
I guess, but I'm just looking back on the process I've done recently with the Council on Aging. Let's say we identify the town of Land X as something we want to divest from, just as an example. Okay, what spaces in the building make sense for them? Boom. Okay, let's talk to our consulting firm. They provide this information, we go back and forth. Okay, we agree on this. Ralph, do you think this makes sense for a certificate of occupancy? Yes, it does. Okay, they move in. It just seems it's that simple of A plus B equals C type of thing versus going down this rabbit hole again.
yeah, I think we don't want them, I kind of agree that we need to have some idea of long-term, but I don't think you're gonna, I think we want really the focus to be on this first part, the school and the senior services and the recreation. I think if we narrow the focus and say, we don't know about the rest of it, we don't need to spend a lot of time talking about the rest of it, but how do we manage these services?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. If we just chop everything off the proposal, other than to say, hey, what's it going to take to get recreation?
Back to the $30,000 proposal and the motion on the floor.
So the motion on the floor is to direct the town administrator to negotiate and enter into an agreement with them, and we're just giving him input on what we'd like to see in that proposal.
I'm not calling the question, but I'm suggesting the chair may want to hold the vote.
Okay.
Vote.
All right, anything else before? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Anything else on the building that we need to address tonight? No. Okay. The next item we have is a discussion and possible vote to establish a director of senior services. David, you're leaving. I'm talking about senior services.
Senior services.
Sit down.
David, did you forget?
Why you were here?
It's like a one-track. I have an agenda. You can leave. I'm not forcing you to stay here. Discussion and possible vote to establish a director of senior services screening committee and hiring process. Mr. Batali.
Yes, we posted the Director of Senior Services position May 15th. We have begun accepting applications. The first review deadline we set is June 15th, so a couple weeks away. Because Bev is retiring at the end of August, we want to just establish the process now, with the goal of having a transition period. So this evening in your packet, you have a memo from me outlining the recommended structure and timeline of that. I am proposing a 5-member screening committee that would include myself, 1 member of the select board, the Council on Aging chair or a designee, the recreation director, or another department head at the board's discretion, and the town clerk. The goal, again, would be to go through that process, have an opportunity for a couple round of interviews, with the goal of having a board action for your August 3rd meeting. It is early in the month of August, but I will note just with regards to the timeline in general, depending on obviously the candidates, their timeline, their notice period, this is aggressive, but, again, ideally, we're trying to work to have at least a little bit of overlap. But happy to take any questions.
So Dick, I'm gonna start with you. Did you have anything to add or have a recommendation here? Since you're our liaison.
No, I think the line is good. We do need a select board member. I think that's the issue for us.
Well, so the issue is, do we want to create this screening committee? And then comprised of how he's recommended, and then does one of us want to be on the screening committee?
Yeah, that's my understanding, and I think that makes sense.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so we created the committee. So we're charging them with what's outlined here is like hiring of the Director of Senior Services. And then, go
I
ahead.
move we appoint Mr. Brewer to the committee, given that he's served in this capacity already as our liaison to the Council on Aging.
Do you want that, Mr. Brewer?
No, sure.
All right, I was going to second it, I second it.
All right, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, so we'll reach out to the Council on Aging Chair or designee, and reach out to the Town Clerk and the Recreation or Department Director. Because it's late, I'm the chair of, the next item we had is the authorization of the Community Compact Municipal Fiber Grant. I am the chair of the Internet Advisory Committee, and I did not know about this in advance. We were going to disband it, but we have not yet disbanded it, but I'm still the chair. But I'm recommending that we pass over this and table it for another night.
I just with that, to accept the grant, we do have to submit the documentation by June 12th.
June 12th.
June 12th. It was, unfortunately, we were made aware of that at the end of last week, so.
So my concern with this, okay.
What exactly is it?
So, all right, so
Trying to understand.
now I wanted to pass over this conversation. All right, so the IT director has, through a series of grants and other town meeting votes, has installed municipal fiber lines. So the first kind of round of that was connecting all of the town offices. So there's a fiber loop that goes down Main Road, it goes like out from the Harbor Master up to the Cumbie Station, right? So there's a fiber loop there. There have been some additional loops that have been created for, I don't remember where they are exactly, but there's a loop that I think includes the school department. There is a loop that was in kind of Northwestport that was in one of the economic, I forget what they call it, but it's the disadvantaged group. So it got under a grant for that. Nobody, except the town offices are using this municipal fiber now, but nobody else is connected to the fiber. But the plan for the municipal fiber project was to use grant funding to extend these fiber loops to different locations in the town, with the idea that to deliver it to the home, the more the municipal fiber is already in place, the less expensive it'll be for a provider to come in and deliver it to the home. This is why we don't have broadband internet right now, is it's incredibly expensive to deliver high-speed internet to everybody's home. So the Internet Advisory Committee had looked at some like public-private partnerships and said, hey, if we are contributing to this partnership, first, the loops that we've already established, and second, our ability to use municipal right-of-way on the lines, on the poles, that we would bring that to, and we could find a private partnership that would come in and kind of, get that last mile to the home. So that was the idea. For a number of reasons, that did not really go anywhere. The public-private partnership incentives for municipal fiber where the state ended up going to companies and not municipalities. So there was a lot of complexity in this. And it wasn't really in my awareness that the IT director, I understand the purpose of these loops, but it's also a loop that isn't gonna, is not delivering any value other than contributing to the asset that we have or a potential future partner. So I am not comfortable recommending this, but I hate to lose out on, so this is a grant award for $237,500. Is there any matching? There's matching that we have to do.
So my understanding, it's 5%. I will note that as part of that 237,500, there is some equipment just that if it weren't through these funds, we would have to replace anyways, to about 50,000, which would come as, separately as a capital request or another expenditure. So, in that case, we are getting that through this grant project. But, yeah.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. I can't strongly recommend this, but I hate to lose out on the grant, but I don't know. And I don't know if that
What's
is.
your recommendation?
I'm of the same opinion that, I'd hate to leave 237,000 on the floor. And I will say that, I guess echoing maybe the past conversation we had, this does give the board the flexibility in the future if there was an opportunity, if it did make the sense that you have the infrastructure in place. With that, I would recommend moving forward.
I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, I think maybe Betty has something.
Maybe Betty,
Maybe.
Betty, who lives with the municipal fiber expert.
No. Who is giving the grant?
The town.
No, you're getting it. Who's giving it? Where's it come from? Where's the financing?
It's the Community Compact Municipal Fiber Grant, so it's coming from the state.
Who's that?
The state.
Lieutenant Governor's
The state of
office? The state, here you
Massachusetts.
go.
MBTA Communities Act.
What would be the limitation of not doing it? You can't ever get one again?
No, I think it's just if we're awarded the funds and we do not follow through, it won't make us competitive for future rounds. Also, there's never a guarantee that they're going to award you these funds again if this is something the town were to pursue. Like I said, I think the match is, let's just say 15,000. But if we weren't even looking at the project itself, we're getting about 50,000 of value in capital expenses. So, I mean, there is a net benefit, but again, you do have to put some skin in the game.
Yeah.
So the grant, what would we be authorizing right here?
Use it for, what's it used for?
So
We're authorizing the signing of the Community Compact Fiber Grant, right? But what is that committing us to? Like, do we have to spend it? I think we probably do, but let me just look.
And on what specific?
Just note what Jake had said. Sometimes get money from the state and.
Oh, Betty. I just don't.
Was it impact your future activities?
Yeah, I don't think it hurts us in any way, but I'm just not comfortable advocating for this at the moment. But there's a component in here of $50,000 that is equipment that we would need.
yes, that's what our IT director said. Is just in addition, to obviously the expansion, there's also some replacement of equipment.
So if we
that's tied to
accepted
this
the
project.
grant, do we have to use it all, or can we just use it for the, I mean, it would still have to come before this board to enter into an agreement to use it, right?
So for the community compacts, typically they look for the deliverable. So when we spend the funds, they're looking for, at the end of their performance period, they look for documentation that we've completed the project, as intended.
Madam Chair, just a question. Do we have a specific guidelines as to what this can be used for? So we're saying basically the $50,000 comes off, so we have $190,000 that we'd be using for, like, I know there's issues in town with communication between fire, highway department, and police, and in that kind of network after it was struck by lightning and various other things. Can it be used for that? I mean, or are we talking just laying cable for fiber optics?
Yeah, so I don't have, no, it's not just fiber optics, but it's based off of what our IT director submitted as our project and what components of that are. I don't have the
know
application
what
in
that
front of
is.
me.
Actually, was this application in here?
Yeah, it's.
It is, but it's probably
The
not.
contract.
The
I'm
contract
trying to
is-
read-
Oh, the
Yeah.
contract.
So the contract is, I mean, you have to use the funds for, it talked about building out one of the 6 loops for the purposes of redundancy. And,
I'm not a big supporter of the town becoming a utility company in any facet, so I'm probably not going to have to vote for it.
yeah, I don't know. I wish the IT director had reached out
Yes.
to the Internet Committee, probably because we haven't met in a while, you might have forgotten that we still technically exist. But, yeah, I think, I don't know. Does anybody want to move forward with it?
Madam Chair, this degree of doubt would suggest it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
It's just simple to say.
Okay. All right, so I don't hear a motion to authorize the signing, so we're not going to take action. In the interest of time, because we're having lots of long meetings lately, so
Yeah.
if it's okay with the board, I want to table the discussion on the policy handbook, although I wouldn't encourage everybody to read it.
Yes, and that was the only thing for tonight is, this is a draft. I know this was something the board had requested for this meeting in anticipation of doing the renewals at the end of June. If you review it, if you have any comments, suggestions, I'm going to continue working on it, again, for consideration at a future board meeting.
All right, so feedback to the town administrator on that one.
The
draft, you wanna
The
put the
draft, certainly we could make that available. Yeah, I can send that to you, yeah.
It's a pretty detailed, like expectations of committees and charge and things like this. It's pretty good.
Sure.
All right,
Yeah, so send me an email. I'm happy to forward it to you.
all right. Anything you wanted to briefly highlight in the town administrator report?
I will just say one sentence. The town has received grant funding for a multitude of projects. Tip of my hat to the staff involved, and always appreciate their hard work on this.
Thank you. We give more detailed update at another time. So the minutes of May 5?
I make a motion to approve the May 5th, 2026 minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We'll report on the bill warrant.
There were two, 515 and 529, both in the $2 million range, all in order. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dick. The committee reports or suggestion for future agenda items, anything, Craig? from you?
Nothing news.
Dick?
Just quickly, I did have a meeting with CERTA, speaking of CERTA earlier this evening, routine meeting to go over budget recommendations. I did attend as the liaison, the Landing Commission, we talked about that earlier. But in terms of future agenda discussion, I was going to ask Chris, I was appointed to the group that's going to deal with the Teamsters as respects the town, all employees. And haven't heard anything further on that. Is that something that's going to be happening soon?
So their representation has to reach out to us to begin and engage in that process. They have not done so yet, but once I hear back from them, then we'll definitely
Yeah, okay.
sit down and prepare.
That's all I have, Madam Chair.
So I had a meeting at the Bike Committee. The Bike Committee is now on summer recess and won't be meeting until August. But one of the things. I have a bike now.
Okay.
Careful.
The one thing I asked them to consider when they meet again is whether they could provide some advice on policies that we might need to set for future bike race. It's the Bike Walking Path Committee. That I know we had some issues with a recent marathon that happened. There was a lot of community concerns there. So I asked the Bike Committee to take up recommendations for bike races in town, like rules and restrictions or policies that we want to put in place for them. So we'll probably take that up in the fall. And that's all I have.
I don't have any committee updates.
Okay. Rick, anything for you?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Any comments or statements from the public?
Thank you.
Okay. We had previously, we don't have any unanticipated topics, right?
We do not.
We started this evening at 5:15 with an aborted executive session. I'm assuming that it's okay with council if we schedule that for another time?
I
rather
think you'd
than-
be okay. I've been texting him, just giving him updates throughout the night, but I can certainly reschedule.
All right, so, so what I would like to do is, we're gonna, what's the order we have to do this in? I'm gonna propose in a moment that we go into executive session for the purposes of adjourning that executive session, and then we have to come back and open, right? Can we do that all in one vote, or do we have to do that? I think we have to adjourn the executive session. I don't know, how do we most efficiently accomplish that?
I think we could do that in open session because.
I do not believe you need to.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn the executive session that was previously recessed and to adjourn this open meeting.
So moved.
I think we have to roll call this one.
I, Craig Dutra.
Richard Burr.
I, Shauna Tees.
Jake McWigan.
Rick Mundy. Aye.
We are adjourned.